Hello and welcome to Dash 28 Live. I'm your host, Mike Atkins, and today we are bringing you a third-round call to arms match against Brindley Smith and Matt Young. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And also commentating on the match, we have Ashley Mowat, Kyle Dino Lord Poole.
How's it going?
Just in the nick of time, Britton Williams.
Timing. Wow.
How's it going?
Right.
So,
I obviously
Shady.
have the
Is that why
timing
you were
wrong.
just in the nick of time?
better right on time than never. Better, whatever. Anyway, not important. So, let's just jump right on into lists. So I'm going to bring up Brindley's list first, and you can talk us through what you're taking.
Sure. All right. So my favorite playstyle is just Bag of Hammers, and that's I'm always playing Varangur, Ogres, and Herd and the like. I also like taking quite a big variety of stuff. So basically, I try to take one or two of everything. And so I started that off with 2 regiments of Huscarls or Housecarls. I gave one Brew of Sharpness and the other Chant of Hate to hopefully just allow them to one-shot anything. Although in this case, that might not work out. I have 1 regiment of Mounted Sons with Elite and Brutal. 2 Frostfang Cavalry Hordes. So this is something kind of new to me that I'm trying out. It's just 2 of the big guys. One is Staying Stone because I hate getting wavered, and the other is Brew of Haste. I only have 1 Snowfox regiment, and I gave it Fire Oil because extra points. I have a Thanon Frostfang with Brutal and a Snowfox, who's kind of like a pseudo chaff / inspiring. And then I have a Lord on Frostfang with the Mace of Crushing and the Snowfox, who's just better at it. And then I've got Megnild because she's awesome. And then, so this is the first time I'm using this. We rolled for my list before we started. I have Night Stalker allies. So I've got a Scarecrow Horde with the Scream Shard, if I remember to use that, which is like a Life Leech 2 once per game, as well as 2 Butcher regiments. Yeah, that's it. So 12 drops, 25 unit strength. Not that that matters here. And
Awesome. And you guys are playing 2,300 points for this call to arms match, which it's weird because we get to pick what size we want to play. Have you guys mainly been playing 2,300 points in our games?
Ideally, I wanted to do 2K, but it's right now just the way call to arms is set up is you're kind of hindering yourself by not doing a bigger game just with the way bonus points work in the Northern Kings scoring.
Didn't he change that? He changed the system, so you don't have to do it that way anymore.
No, we should have done 2K. Oh, well.
Yeah, it was that way up until this round, but he has a sliding scale now.
Okay.
All right, Matt, tell us about your ogres.
Yeah, sure. We're playing Kill, by the way. I don't think we mentioned that, and it has some pillage tokens too for some bonus objectives, kind of like Kill and Pillage did back in the day. But Kill's the winning scenario. So I have ogres because I felt like I had to bring ogres if I was going to be streaming. It's kind of the only list I take to tournaments. I've got 3 Red Goblin Scouts. If I could take 7, I would. 2 Warrior Chariot Hordes. I hope these perform well because they've been performing pretty well for me. It's pretty much the only nerve block you can get in the Ogre army. That 17-19 is very much appreciated. So that's the main reason I take them is for the nerve more than the smash, but I gave them the obligatory J-Boots and Pathfinder. 1 Horde of Boomers, naked. Most of my units are naked, boys before toys here. 2 Siegebreaker Hordes, 2 Warlocks with Drain Life because Nom Nom could bring them back. If RC members are listening or Mantic or anyone else, we want Nom Nom. Please bring Nom Nom back. We need heal. But that Drain Life is there for heal. 1 Army Standard on Chariot because I wish he was a Warlord, but he's not. And then 2 Warlords on Chariot, 1 with the Blade of Slashing and 1 with the Mace of Crushing and Crocodogs for some extra beat on 1 round.
Awesome. Very good stuff. All right, so I'm going to bring up your UB room now for everybody. So how did you guys go about picking terrain, and what terrain heights are you going with?
Brindley did all that, so if there was cheating, it was him.
Yeah, it was totally me. This is just one of the random map packs that you can load into UB from Epic Dwarf. I don't know what table it is. I think it's 9 or 8 or something. We just grabbed one that looked not blinding like one of the snow maps was. So
It was 8. He rolled an 8 on a d20.
Yeah.
Okay, and like Matt was saying, we are playing the Northern Kings kill variant. So it's kill, except there are 6 objectives on the table, which count as bonus points at the end of the game. And for that, you guys have picked these little rocks or shields or something.
Barrels, I think.
Yeah.
Barrels.
Barrels.
Okay. And they're mostly all in the middle-ish of the table, except for these 2. One's in a forest here, and one's just off of this wall here.
Yeah, we have a very clear goal in mind for what we want to do.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's go through the deployments real quick. Going with Brindley's army up here on the top. Walk us through your deployment, please.
Sure. So I kind of started with the center there, where it's just open, not much terrain to deal with. So I started with the Scarecrow Horde and Butcher Regiment and some Housecarls that I knew I could just run up the field and not really think too much about what I have to do with that. I wasn't too reactionary to what Matt was doing, but I still think I was out deployed overall. And then for the flanks, I kind of went harder to the right side in terms of going around with the Butcher Regiment and the Mounted Sons on the far right, as well as the Dire Fangs with haste, which project pretty decent threat. I still expect to lose that side because of the chariots, but we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
And then on the left side, I have the Dire Fangs and Snow Foxes, which in this case will probably just be trying to hold him back because I can't really kill the Siege Breakers all too well.
He says,
yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I definitely am not super happy with how deployment went, but at the same time, that's on me for not play testing this as much as I could have.
All right, great. And Matt, if you could walk us through your deployment starting over here on the left.
Yeah, sure. So Tom Annis likes to joke that he could deploy for me and would do exactly the same way I do, and I think he's right. I pretty much always deploy the same way. So this little siege breaker formation with the boomers behind, I always do that. I normally have a hero in the middle. Sometimes that might be Grok and Magok. It might be a caster. It just depends on what I'm taking that day. But in this case, it's a caster. On the left to that, I have a warlord, which the only thing I'm a little scared of in this list is I took the inspiring talisman off of one of my warlocks. So I'm going to have to rely on my combat heroes to inspire as well. But it is kill. So I assume they will be in the thick of it for the most part. To the right, I have both of my chariots. They're both just wanting to smash. Pathfinder to the left, away from the obstacle. Strider to the right, near the obstacle. And then 2 heroes helping them out with some chaff behind. Cool thing about scouts is they're all pretty centralized. So even that one on the far left could get to the right if it needed to, or the one on the right could get to the left if it needed to. They pretty much fly. They don't have fly, but they're nimble and speed 10, and you can go through your own dudes. So they pretty much fly. If for whatever reason you need them to jump in front of something and they can't see, or you can't charge through your own unit, you just walk through your own unit and don't take the charge because it's not like they do any damage anyway. So that's kind of nice. Boomers are in the back because they never get a couple shots. They don't really get a play until about halfway through the game, so you just keep them protected at the beginning.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's about it. So good luck, guys. Neither of you have any scout moves, right? So you're just going to go back to the room and roll for first turn?
That's correct.
All right, great. Well, good luck, guys. Have fun. We'll be watching, and we'll see you when the game's over.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck.
All right.
Very
So-
different deployments.
Very
Very
much
different
so.
deployment. Yeah, they're kind of compact though. They're kind of both right up in the middle. Nobody went super hard to an extreme flank except Brindley put some stuff over on the right there.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
not
we have impossible doing the impossible thing where you have to commit either hard to go outside and around it and that defines how the battle sort of goes, or you fight within it and you shrink the board.
And the impassable here being on the far flanks. I mean, ogres can't even fit, and it's Northern Alliance or Varangur both would struggle. So it's kind of almost like they're playing on a 5-foot board.
Yeah,
maybe even
and
a 4-foot board.
Like, and this is no problem with the map. I think one of the things I like about Kings of War is that weird terrain or limiting terrain is a challenge, not a game breaker. It's still fun. And this is one of those cases. But like, if you're at home and you wanted to know how to make this a little less limiting, like those pieces of terrain, one being moved forward and one being moved back, so that they're not exactly lined up with each other, is a way to make that a little less restricting. But fighting on restricting battlefields is fun. So
a good rule of thumb, if you're sort of getting started or you're trying to build a table that's really inviting for newer players or just more casual play, is there's nothing in the game bigger than a cavalry horde. So if you can place a cavalry horde all the way around a piece of impassable, it doesn't really limit the game.
And Matt has won the
changes
roll
it,
for
but it doesn't
turn
limit
one.
it.
Matt has won the roll for turn 1 and elected to go first.
All right.
that makes sense. I'll be the stand-in Alex Chavez that says he has more speed, and going first is great because you pin the opponent back and give them a lot less options. This is especially true in this map where you can kind of pin them between those impassable terrain and really shrink the area they're in to operate. So we'll see. Matt has a weird ogre army. Matt is a very experienced ogre player. So when I say weird, this could be the new ogre army people play. But it is so many people mounted on chariots, which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
As a goblin player, I have a lot of experience chaffing with those speed 10 nimble troops.
Mhm.
And Matt, I've played him a couple of times. I've watched him play. He's not afraid to just throw them away, and neither am I. On the charge, right, they're maybe good for like 2 wounds, but you know what they're great at? Stopping Frostfang cavalry from wounding ogres. And it's one of those, if you get the speed, and all of a sudden you pin those Frostfang in to where they're stuck maybe fighting next to a building, or you can prevent, or you can force them to reform at weird angles after they kill you, you can suddenly open them up to like take a forced multi-charge because of those heroes on chariots. So there's a lot of tactical pressure to going first if you're fast enough to follow it. If this was a dwarf army, going first lets you get closer, but it's not like you need to worry about loot tokens. It's kill. So
Yeah.
the
So,
speed's going to matter a lot.
yeah, this is one of those ones where, like, some people have made the argument before for going second that, like, sometimes I'm a fan of it, which Chavez does disagree with, like, for getting on a token, controlling that spot at the end of the game. But especially in kill, that last turn isn't that big of a game breaker to have that last bottom of 6.
I actually think kill might be one of the missions where, one of the only missions where being able to have the last word is the least effective. Because if you think about how battles progress in Kings of War, the idea that I have the last say doesn't really matter if your last say comes with 1 less attacking unit or 2 less attacking units, as much as it does being able to say, I'll just go land on whatever token you don't. So there's something to going first here.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Kill is one of those ones where I think, especially if you have the speed, go first for sure. But
yeah, so I wanted to talk a little about some of the army choices from both sides. Just some interesting stuff that's jumping out. As Brindley said, he's playing a smashy list.
shocked, so shocked. Never seen
Yeah,
that
but it's
before.
there's a couple spicy inclusions. He's got 2 Dire Fangs, he's got Mounted Suns, he's got Huskarls, all things that punch hard. And then in the Night Stalker allies, this is maybe just I don't read the books well enough, but this jumped out at me. Butcher regiments at 125 points are -15 nerve.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
That is
So
a bargain.
Super frust.
Defense 5, 15 -15 nerve for 125. I mean, God, some armies
Super
are
frustrating.
chaff at 125. This is hammer chaff.
And they hit hard enough to be a problem.
Yeah, 9 attacks with crushing strength 2. Like you can't ignore them, and they make a good charge buddy for another hammer unit that might not quite be able to auto pop a unit in one go, but like the 2, 3, maybe 4 wounds that these guys will add if they roll hot, paired with one of his other units, we'll pick something up in one go.
It's a list choice that I like because Brindley doesn't bring a lot of chaff in the traditional sense, right? He's not running the Snow Foxes, he's not running Elf Troops. So having that -15 regiment platform lets it chaff really well. They're either dead or they're countercharging.
Yep.
And he can play with a lot of angles with all those mounted heroes where stuff's going to eat multi-charges, or, if you bounce, here's a flank. So it's a strong choice in an army like his where the only thing to do is go forward. It's not asking to set up tricks. It's saying my play is I go forward. If you don't kill me, I kill you.
Yeah, like his chaff will punch you in the face. It's not a high amount of attacks, but it's solid attacks.
Yeah.
So
they will. We always say, can that unit sit down a dragon? That unit can sit down a dragon.
Easy.
Absolutely.
And then the other sort of thing I like comparing against is like we all know how awesome, or hopefully we know how awesome Revenant Cav troops are. At the point cost they are, defense 5, good enough a number of attacks with Thunderous to sit some stuff down, and you have to send a real unit to deal with them. These are, slower a little, but all those same qualities. So it's not something I'd seen talked about a lot. It could be I'm an idiot and not in the Night Stalker Facebook room, so I don't know. But Butcher regiments have been brought onto my radar now as something a little scary.
I also feel like I think Brindley actually allied in RevCav in his Master's Voringer list.
So he's used to allying in broken chaff from other armies, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Was that
one
not
of the
obvious?
advantages the butchers have as the chaff is Brindley's army? It doesn't seem like it's inspiring light, but if he has to spread out and fight, let's say this map, that hill was impassable instead, you really have to dedicate your inspiring in this list, and having that chaff sort of with the Mindthirst special role, it doesn't matter, right? He's not trying to pay attacks to bring in a banner bearer from undead. He's not trying to keep it in house with more Tundra Wolves and another fast hero. He's sort of saying those Sons of Corrigan can just go do whatever it is they're going to do. I'll let the Mindthirst regiment take the hit, and hopefully the Mounted Sons never even get a nerve roll against them.
Yeah.
All right, so Matt moved up very aggressively, like we kind of expected him to there on his first turn, leaving Brindley no charges, but being just out of charge range all across it. And now Brindley, apparently,
just going.
Responding in kind, throwing a Scarecrow Horde way on up there.
Yeah, so we're moving.
I can already hear him humming in the living room. Brindley's
it's definitely worth noting that hill is a little less standoff in this game because Brindley and Matt both have height 4 units. Matt has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 height 4 units. Brindley having decidedly less, or height 4, sorry, but a lot of times those hills can be just complete dance circles where no one can fight, and in here, those chariots can just go.
I think that's also really nice though in third ed where that you're dancing around the hill, but you also know do you want to get on the hill so you can get that thunderous charge off? But I think it's an interesting little play sometimes.
So something kind of interesting there is that a lot of other races chariots are height 3. But the big boy ogre chariots are seeing right over that hill. So just another sort of V3 thing to look at is that chariots have been kind of reconciled to what they usually are in reality versus kind of chariots being giant battle platforms.
Yeah, but they're cav with different boxes.
But ogres are tall boys anyways, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
It also looks like from Matt's initial moves, there was an option that he could just start steaming that far left chariot around the outside. He still has that option. They're nimble. So it can still do some tricksy stuff to get around the back, but he hasn't opted for that from the beginning. He's still very much looking in and trying to threaten this kill space in the middle.
And I like that play better because I don't want to say telegraph because it's sort of open, right? Like that chariot can make that move, but if you angle it in such a way that it's looking there, you forfeit the option to keep a threat honest. If we go sort of north of Matt's Warlocks, there's this bubble just outside of Siegebreaker charge range where that Chariot is saying, oh, by the way, you move there, I have a flank, and that's a lot of dice to toss down turn 2. Like that can seriously put that Frostfang, let's see which model is that, the Chieftain on Direfang. You don't want that eating a flank. Because even if it doesn't die, you move up with Soul Drain, and all of a sudden you got these 2 Soul Drains and a Chariot flank, and you could threaten even Direfangs if they expose a flank. So it's a really strong position to be looking into what you called it, the kill box, because just that little bit of standoff could be game deciding if you don't protect it. I know in my game I let out that dragon land behind me, and it took me 5 turns to recover.
And then my other question, sort of, I guess this is for Mike or someone, where are the sort of requisite Pathfinder Strider items kicking around on Brindley's list?
On Brindley's list.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if he has any. Oh, he must. He took every item in the book. He spent a lot of points on items.
So do
let me
the
see.
Frost things have natural Strider? Forget.
They have natural Strider.
Okay.
They do, yeah.
Yeah,
They
Frost
give
won't
no
have
F.
Strider.
If you look at Brindley's list, he actually has no movement augment items, with the exception of Brew of Haste on the gray Frostfangs over on the right side.
Those, yeah.
So he's relying on the innate fact that the models themselves either don't care or have Strider. So the Frostfang, the heroes have it, the Frostfangs have it. The cavalry with Brutal and Elite, it's sort of like if they get hindered, so be it. I'm assuming they're hindered because I'm forcing a flank, and the Elite will carry the incredibly strong offensive stat of the Mounted Sons. The Huskarls, if you look at how he positioned them on the map, it'd be a cold day in hell before they found difficult terrain to have to fight on.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the units that could be messed up, with the exception of the Mounted Sons looking at that obstacle.
Yep.
He's almost deployed in a way that he goes, I didn't take the items, so I'll just play like I didn't take the items.
Yeah, it's mainly I was looking at Matt's pushing forward. What's going to happen probably is there's going to be some jockeying for position, and then those Frostfangs are going to be most likely charging out of terrain, which they don't care because they're Strider.
Yep.
It's mainly those Mounted Sons
in that wall.
And right now, we'll see where their final position sort of is, but right now it sort of looks like he's daring the other side to get on or over that wall before he comes in, or position, as you said, for a flank or something that doesn't care about a wall, because at that point they're just doing enough.
They're like, whatever. Yeah.
And let's talk about the allies. He brought that Scarecrow horde. For Varinger, that's a nerve bank that they just don't have access to.
Draugr, right?
The Draugr, but it's not as sexy.
Yeah, well, like we know Scarecrows are the best bad unit in the game right now, right? Like
according to all of England, yeah.
According to Nick Williams painting.
Nick. Yeah.
They have been identified as the one of the best bad units, along with Ratkin slaves and
Well, and correct me, Draugr don't have stealthy though.
No.
Right? And that's a huge thing in a list like Brindley's, where getting shot at is something that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to shoot at my low defense nerve bank, it's basically just as hard to wound as my Huskarls.
Yeah.
Just because the innate stealthy, and if you shoot the Huskarls, they get cover, and I'm trying to mitigate my army's weakness by choosing chaff that is innately hard to shoot.
Yeah. And this is Matt's ogre list. I wouldn't call it shooting light, but it is on the diet side of shooting that an ogre list can bring. We're not seeing multiple boomer sergeants. We're not seeing multiple boomer hordes. It's kind of the drain life in a boomer horde package that's pretty small.
Now, we did see Brindley go ahead and pop Matilda, or whatever her real name is, once per game flying ability. and it looks like he did fit between the Warlock and the Boomers, and I think that's something maybe Matt just forgot, because she's also not in a position where anyone but the Boomers can do a follow-up charge.
Mhm.
She's not easy to kill.
No.
No.
Because she's DAS 15 as well.
I've played Brindley a lot, and that model is pretty much universally the reason that I hate Brindley.
Brindley?
It's the only thing I don't like about him, too, is that model.
I'm sure we could find other things.
Like
No, that's it.
the model choice, or just the stats and the thing he does?
Just the fact that he deigns himself worthy of bringing her, and then she gives me headaches game after game.
Yeah, he plays with her so consistently that his knowledge bank on how and like the tricks he can pull and how he executes it is done very, very well, because it's just that like continual practice with it, right?
So
Brindley
this is
does like to mix things up and switch things in out, but there's sometimes like that core little group of stuff
She
he
stays.
likes. She's
Yeah.
so you're basically saying Magnilda of the Fallen is the real girlfriend in this situation.
Yeah, I'm not surprised if that was true.
Probably tucks that model in at night. But no, it speaks to the talent of the players too, that they have these, like Matt talked about, I know how to deploy this block. I sort of do it over and over again.
Right.
Brindley has been running Dire Fangs since I was helping him practice when I was like version 2 with my triple giant thing. And Brindley was like, we're going to make Dire Fangs great. They were already good. I didn't think he needed to make them great. But there's something to be said about picking an army, sticking with the army, and playing that cell. And even if Brindley changes everything else around it, like he's never took these scarecrows or this stuff, he's got the Dire Fang and the Matilda the Fallen. I know she has a real name, but Matilda's easier to remember. He kept that core piece so that when he experiments with the rest, he has something to like compare how efficient it was to.
Yeah,
And it helps you if you're running 70% of the army on sort of wargaming muscle memory, and you know how they should work and what they can do. Putting attention into the other 30% you're chopping and changing is a lot easier. But
battle group building.
In these sort of general discussions, I don't want to lose the fact that like that's a move that's kind of a kick in the teeth for whatever Matt's battle plan was on this left side. Those Boomers are punched in the face. He's got something behind him. There's no way for him to turn and deal with this. Does someone have the math on whether the Boomers will eventually win out that fight? They should, right?
The thing is, though, even if they win out the fight, it's not a one turn, and it's not even likely to be a 2-turn flip. And with Brindley getting the opening attack, I don't want to call it the alpha, but really he did. With him getting the alpha by drawing that line just between the Warlock, he has the nerve advantage when it comes into waiver rolls.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you slap on that first 3 to 4 wounds, second 3 to 4 wounds, and he has the advantage going into how likely you are to be wavered.
And I mean, the most important thing here is like those Boomers are not going to shoot anything for the first half of the game, and that's the half when you really want to pepper his units as they're coming in. Once everything's engaged.
However, though, Matt did say in the beginning of the game that he doesn't typically plan on his Boomers to shoot anything at the beginning, which is why he protects them. But he did lose his protection with McNeil being able to come in and be like, pew.
And it's a protection, if we zoom in there, that is kind of almost unfortunate because the spacing she had to land is super narrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's maybe inexperienced facing against that model because it's a 1-inch backpedal, and she's staring at charging cavalry chaff on the flank, which is way less valuable than pulling off the charge she did. And if nothing else, she's keeping those Boomers from being able to follow in a triple charge, right? So the multi-charge potential is gone. Double step that Warlock out of the way and do 3 guys in a straight line.
Exactly.
Or if he put those Boomers like a quarter of an inch further to the right and they weren't half on the hill, they wouldn't be visible behind the siege breakers and the Warlock anyway.
Yeah, and I didn't see if she could draw like a straight line through certain places, but it's definitely a play that is in Brindley's favor. I think 9 times out of 10. I think it's a strong play to do, and her ability is sort of one of those that becomes less valuable, I think, the farther the game gets. Like everything's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Popping that speed 10 fly loses some oomph when you only have to run 4 inches.
Yeah. But I think also too.
Yeah, there's a depending on the battlefield, right? Like in this game, where she's positioned, where the lines are closing, and the fact that she's height 1 in a sort of tall boy battlefield, right? She's going to be line of sight blocked sometimes for getting to where she wants.
And she's right next to that hill for if she wins.
But the sort of thing is that, like in other battlefields, it's like you want to assess where you think they're going to be needed, and there's times where that turn 5, turn 4, turn 5 pop fly and get somewhere no one was expecting can be devastating. But there's definitely like a cost to waiting, and if you can use it at the beginning on something worth, it's great.
I think there's also that piece of like Matt probably wasn't anticipating that, so you do it, and even if it doesn't necessarily win out right away, you get your opponent a little more flustered. There's a bit of that psychology aspect of the game too. Like now you're put on the back foot, being like, okay, how am I going to react to this and deal with this? And it takes you away from other aspects sometimes.
Absolutely. Like I used to play with Basusu a lot when I played Abyssals, and if somebody steps up and leaves you a first turn charges you don't expect, especially into a unit that can shoot, or even on the second turn, like hell yeah, throw her out there, screw up your opponent's plan, make it a pain in the ass for him to deal with, because any resources he devotes to stopping that is something that's not stopping your oncoming rush.
And you can see that's the side that he's pushing on. He's like, I've thrown her in there. There's a cost to that. She might win this combat. She might get punched in the face twice and die.
So here's her fight actually right now. And
6 hits on 7 dice.
That's a nasty, nasty hit. The other thing to look at is that nerve roll right there.
And
It puts you at a chance to waver.
That
I
is
was
a
gonna
waiver.
say
That is
anytime you're rolling dice, there's a chance that it's 2 6s.
So that is a waiver though.
Yep.
That's a big waiver,
That's a
which
huge waiver.
really puts her strong. But the last little piece as we get ready to watch how Matt reacts is, if you look, Brindley threw his snow foxes way up there.
Yep.
Those boomers, even with stealth, snow foxes do not like getting shot.
No. No.
And he's not running the Ice Queen heal, so even if they said, well, screw the snow foxes, we'll just put a goblin unit into it, those boomers could literally just start chipping away at Huskarls, which are an absolute pain in the butt, and he could almost try and stall the Huskarls out for 2 or 3 turns of breath attack as a strategy, and Brindley's removed that from the board. It's now a we will fight. Plus drain life.
part of that is Matt brought a small shooting package. I can't believe I'm saying small package on air. That's asking for trouble. But
Ashley will never let you forget.
It's quite.
I'm gonna put that in my phone. Britton said small package.
We're gonna go back and get that audio clip and just add it to things.
Yeah.
So there's always cases that I look at where you look at things and you say, okay, who's the person in this situation that is improving their situation by stalling, and who is the one that has to push the pace, right? Like who's the beatdown versus, to use Magic terminology. And in this case, Matt was the one that looked most likely to be able to improve his position by stalling Brindley, shooting him, drain lifing him, doing other stuff. And that one charge, which was barely left open by a small mistake from Matt that he's probably kicking himself for, messed up a bunch of that plan and is now making him sort of replan on the fly, which is not what you want to do. So not to make anyone use more time on their clock in tournament games, but be careful where you leave gaps for important units when Magnilda is around. So.
Yeah. In Matt's defense, UB is I'm always getting caught out more in UB, and I know the other players I've played around the world are always getting caught out more because it's so easy on a table. Grab the laser. Yep, good. Yep, good. Put a blank there. Yep, good. On UB, sometimes you're like, is the effort worth it? It looks fine. And then the opponent's like, no, the effort's worth it to check on my turn. Let's see here.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, that's inconvenient. Even without the waiver, that's a strong play. With the waiver,
it's
sure the soul or the drain life is going to be able to put some heal on it. But the fact that we talked about how she already had the initiative, if you will, in that melee, Now she's in a position where I could go back in here again. I could turn and try and take out warlocks now. What's the most beneficial charge for me to do from this, in effect, bubble of targets without a threat?
Yep.
So it came out really well that she's not going to be contested here.
Oh, it's amazing. Like the waiver there was,
Yeah. Was it hot dice or a big dice roll? Yes, but it's the same chance to roll that number as it is to roll, like a 3. So
Yeah, that was six hits on 7 attacks, and then 5 wounds on 6 hits, and then an 11. Like,
Yeah.
it's
But that's
good
you.
dice, but it's
Where's our
a possibility.
Hashtag UB dice.
there you go.
UB dice.
There you go.
Should drop
That's
that in.
that's just more her dice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just played a game in UB last night, and I took a flank charge something with a giant and rolled it, so I had 11 wounds, so 22 attacks, and I did 2 wounds.
That's because you took giants. That was your mistake.
Well,
But yeah,
mistake, so.
you can see what it's done, right? Because Matt, I've played Matt several times. He's a relatively fast player, and this board hasn't changed. This board state has not moved.
No,
tried-
he's
So
really
what
thinking about what to do next.
What he tried to do is he wanted to move everyone back. He wanted to just like shift the whole battle line back. And he's saying in the chat that he can't do it. Like, thanks, rules committee. Because
He has to be further away.
They're not actually any further away.
Right, because he's
Yeah,
just sliding
they're-
alongside her. Yeah.
They're keeping their distance with Magnolide, and it technically is against the rules, which I like that ruling because it's caught me out more than once too.
Mhm.
But I do want to say this is one of those where I'm feeling for Matt a little. He's on stream, and this is one of those things in a friendly game where like this happens, and you're like, well, damn, we'll play this one out, but I'm playing you again after this.
Right,
I'm not
right.
making that mistake.
And you're-
This is just one of those. It doesn't break the game. There's going to be a lot of good Kings of War to play, but this definitely is a giant freaking wrench in his plans, which is
So
I
I think he's
my
spitballing
last-
whether or not he wants to send this chariot into the Frostfangs in the woods. They are in range, but I believe that is going to be a hindered charge if he takes it.
Yeah,
Can
'cause
we
is
click
the-
on the chieftain on Direfang with the pipes, please, and look at his arc? I think if he were to
Yeah.
make that play, he might have been in the flank.
Don't know.
I don't think so. Actually, zooming in, it looks pretty far out.
yeah.
But yeah, I think he
But,
could probably get past them.
There's little things you learn. My game against Josh Rajado that had like 40 billion spectators. I thought all individuals did not count for the purpose of being engaged on 2 flanks, and it's individuals without mighty, so yielding
Mhm.
individuals. I only play goblins. I literally just didn't
What's a mighty individual?
bother to read the mighty rule, and I set an entire turn moving to shoot a unit I couldn't unengage with. And I literally was like, oh, that's my whole turn dedicated to this play. And it's one of those, you don't make the mistake twice, but you
Yeah.
certainly make it once.
And the thing I generally love about Kings of War is it probably wasn't an argument once you figured that out. It's like you read the rule and you're like, oh, that's very clear. I
Yeah.
just didn't know it.
Yeah, well, it was exactly what it was. I was like, I shoot your Demon King, and he's like, oh, you can't. And then we had a slightly alcohol high-pitch fight, and we were like, all right, well, I'll read the book on individuals, and he goes, oh, that's yielding. Read the rule on mighty. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't say that.
What?
Never mind. You're right. I'll improvise.
So for
Didn't
those
you
of
still
you,
win that game though? So
I forced
for those
a
of you
draw.
For those of you joining us watching, they are playing Kill. They are playing the Northern Kings variant of Kill, where how many points you kill determines who wins by the scenario. But then there are 6 objectives on the table, each of which is worth 1 scenario bonus point at the end of the game if you have more unit strength on it, the same as normal objectives. We saw a really, really hot first turn charge from Magnild into some boomers here in the backfield, where she successfully wavered them, which I'm sure has thrown Matt into kind of a analysis paralysis as he tries to figure out how to respond and what to do, because something like that will really, really mess up your battle plan.
Yeah.
Matt has a YouTube channel called Hobby Sauce, which if you haven't checked it out before, you should definitely go check out. If you're looking at this and you've never played Kings of War on Universal Battle before and you're thinking about giving it a try, I would recommend that you check out Matt's tutorial for it on his YouTube page. That's kind of the first thing I watched when I was thinking about playing around it with it. and I found it really useful. So if this is all kind of new and confusing to you, that's a great resource to check out. All right, looks like he started making up his mind on how he wants to respond, and he is throwing that chariot in over there on the left side.
So can
Awesome.
they see there? Did we
Let's-
decide?
Yeah, can we
Let's
get
see
that
if
art?
he's got the flank.
Yeah, he does not.
So
Okay.
I sort of think Matt's main option here is going to be you just have to go in
Just go for it. Yeah.
Just
because
YOLO.
you're stuck. So if backing up doesn't work, you have to
Alright.
go.
Oh, that's interesting.
choice.
So he's using the snow foxes as a handy redeploy.
As a free reform. Yep, exactly.
And throw away one of those goblin units
No
Yep.
double
simply to buy time.
Yep,
Yep.
there it is. Yep.
one. Yeah.
And because they're nimble, he can move a warlock out of the way and sort of pick what
Yep.
handy dandy goblin goes where. And they're actually so fast, the goblin cavalry on the left could even nimble charge the scarecrows and let the chariots redeploy.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll see. His right's looking better than his left, but there might be a tricky move everything from the right into the center, pounce
Mhm.
before the Dire Fangs and Mounted Sons can get over. It's just hard because the Mounted Sons are, cavalry. So
They're
they're
not
They're-
slow.
They're a bag of
Yeah.
hammer.
he does have his chariot over there, sort of, that would need to either be blocked off by the butchers, which is hard for a nimble, reasonably high speed unit.
You can't throw anything on that flank away because what's over there will kill it.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
there's no multiple turn grind in front of Corrigans and Direfangs. It's sort of anything you put in front of it, it's going to treat like it's a troop of goblins. It's going to most likely be touched and it's gone.
They're like.
I mean, we
running
see here
over
he's
and-
playing. We see right here he's playing passive, just sort of checking his ranges and sort of acknowledging the threat that you can't have a nerve bank be one shot because then why did you take a nerve bank?
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's gotta
and
act
when
like
we
an animal.
say those chariots are an interesting sort of ogre solution to the problem that you're walking around with a bunch of 15, 17 nerf usually. It's a horde, which the new horde size is 4 wide, so 200 mil wide, so not oppressively wide. It's infantry horde sized.
Yeah.
What is that? 100 mil deep, so they're slightly deeper than a regular infantry horde, and they're walking around with 17, 19 nerve, which is for an ogre army is a nerve bank. For those of us
Yeah.
playing orcs or others or undead, we're like 17, 19. That's not nerve. But
The mass goblin spam player in me is like, so you took something that's not a goblin horde? I have a question for you guys because it's something that I always pose and I get different answers. In this scenario especially, I think it's an important question. Why take a horde over a legion? Because that ogre chariot legion is many of the times they fight for 5 turns and they're still not taken off the board, supported with drain life, and they will one shot anything I can really see here on an unhindered charge. Of course, this always assumes an unhindered charge, but so does Potion of the Caterpillar. Why not take maybe a legion and a troop? Because I don't see him really being unlock strapped here, unless I counted wrong.
I think he is. Maybe not, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Or even a legion and a regiment, right? But my thought being, in a mission like Kill,
Mhm.
sometimes having something that's so killy with enough nerve that it's just gonna punch a hole, I think is a nice tool. But I wonder if taking the 2 hordes is the stronger play, or if having something like a legion and a more flexible footprint like a troop might be. That could just be me as someone who's gotten addicted to mincer troops and that square footprint. Don't underestimate squares. Those 2 chariots wide, 100 by 100 is a nasty platform that I think a lot of people are going to start discovering.
But isn't
Yeah.
it also like if you take a legion, you also have like a bigger flank to protect?
Yeah,
That's the
but
thing too.
it's so one is like his comfort with playing with the chariot footprint, which I assume Kyle is reasonably familiar with the chariot footprint from playing goblins and all of the unique challenges and opportunities it presents.
Yeah, that deep pivot is awesome, but it's also a curse once you get stuck on the side.
Stuck
But
on the
also
side,
that
when you
footprint
ran
there
them-
has its own challenges.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's sort of a more natural like horde problems.
I agree to that.
So I think it's a valid question. I don't have a clear winner. There's some point savings versus the legions. Buying I think a troop and a legion still costs more than 2 hordes. And then there's basically like it's still a lot of power. It's 20 attacks. I mean, maybe he's just going, but I do think in kill, there's something to be said for having points denial. Unlike a lot of other scenarios in Kings of War, if you have something big and scary and you get a good charge off with it and no one touches it, that's good in kill versus other scenarios where you need it to do more things than just point denial.
Yeah, I like dragons in kill because they're so hard to remove from the game. It's kind of like, oh, it's in threat. I'll just go hide it now. That you
Right.
didn't kill me, I did my work, and that's sort of how I feel about the Chariot Legion. Worst case scenario, you punch a hole through something, and you just go sit on one of these bonus point objectives.
Yep.
And you know,
Right.
you're saying if you come closer, I'll kill you too. But I'm happy to sit here. I did my job.
Yeah.
But it's a
Matt's-
thought process that I think
Matt's
I want to
done with
ask
his,
Matt when we
movement.
come back.
Sure. Yeah, Matt's
We got-
done with his movement. He's doing drain lives on Matilda.
Okay,
Magnolia.
we got action.
Turn
Now,
both of his warlocks to drain life on her to try to heal his.
For the 3 of you watching who've never played against or played ogres, Brent, you want to cover the special rule that warlocks have? Because I've had a little alcohol and we'll probably mess it up.
It's they buff up their spell casting with units around them. So they start off with a pretty kind of normal to weak spell casting, but for each friendly core large infantry regiment or large infantry horde within 6, they get to up the amount of dice they rolled with drain life, fireball, lightning bolt, mind fog, to a maximum of 3. So they start at drain life 5, which actually isn't too bad. It's better than I think my poor orcs get, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
And for each of those units, so they can buff up in the right scenario where it's sitting between 2 boomers and or 1 boomer and 2 siege breakers. They're looking at drain life 8 each. 2 of them drain life 16.
Yeah, and they only did 2 wounds because the second one didn't roll over a 4 on any of the 8 dice.
Yeah,
And
so
then she has the Iron Resolve special rule because why not give her more
Why not?
special rules?
Right.
So we see 2 come off the boomers. There's literally no one else to target. So why not take the free healing? And then failing to waver her, putting her at 1, again, is going to leave her flexible. Because what she could do now is she could stay on the boomers. She could disengage and go after cavalry. And she could very easily one-shot Cav. And then I think to no one's surprise, the Snowflocks has suffered to the, what is that, 600 or 700 dice?
Double siege
Oh, yeah.
breakers.
Yeah.
So that's fire oil removed off the table, people. Big game breaker there.
Fire roll's that item that I always make fun of people for taking, and I used to always take it too, because one game I would be against that one unit, and I would just be like, ha! And then the other 5 games, I was only wasting 5 points.
So I think Matt is now trying to decide how he wants to reform his 2 Siegebreaker hordes after killing the Snow Foxes.
Yeah,
So I'm
so
gonna have to
this
see
is
what the
some
House
fun-
Girls options are.
This is some fun little window into the mind of a Kings of War player, right? He's won this combat. Now what is he doing?
Could you click on the left siege breakers while we're talking to see their arc?
Yeah.
Ooh. So
So he's
That's
trying
interesting.
to find a way that he can position, spin, etc. These units to best stop or challenge Brindley's next move. So he's like putting units in place where Brindley's units are, spinning them around, and trying to prevent terrible things from happening to some of his most important units on the board, the siege breakers. So
there's a really important decision here based on the arc that we see. I don't know why I pointed at my screen. You guys can see it too. That unit on the left that Mike has highlighted, if it had stayed where it is, because the Huskarls are in its flank, had he kept everything in a perfect line, there's really no charges that can happen, but at the same time, both of those hordes are staring only at the Dire Fang without a lot of tactical flexibility. I don't know if I agree with the backup call because you run the risk of what just happened.
What just happened?
You
Yeah,
now
this is
have
awful.
an opened flank.
Oh, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah, that
Or
was
you
bad. Well,
back up.
Yeah, the warlock back here meant he couldn't go back very far. I think this one went back
Yep.
further than he wanted, and
But he
now,
moved them first.
yeah, I know. And now the chieftain has a flank on the furthest left unit, and the Huskarls would then could then charge to the front of the other siege breakers, and
Or they may be able to even get in a flank. We'll have to see. One of the things you could have done to avoid that, or in this case, Matt could have done to avoid it, is back up the far right unit first and see how far they went.
He did that.
And then seeing they went that far, he could have then just turned the other unit to face and sort of created a double front.
That's what I was.
Um,
I'm basically asking, why wouldn't you do that? Am I missing something, or did you just make a mistake?
I'm not sure. We'll have to see if Brindley's able to capitalize on it. Also, the cavalry doing 3 wounds for Goblin Cav. That's 7 attacks on 4 is Thunder 1, so that's an impressive hit.
yep, not enough to get rid of them, but an impressive hit.
And they did
that
move on to
chariot-
Brindley's bottom.
They did go into Brindley's bottom too, trying to figure out how to capitalize on these. So Matt sent his chariot into the Frostfangs in the woods, did 1 wound, which would be great if they had Thunderous Charge to take away, but they don't. They only have Crushing 2. So now he's just sort of in their way.
Yeah,
And that's the Staying Stone unit, which is a good one to put over on that flank.
Yeah.
Because it's the one that's going to be taking all the damage. The one on the right is sort of going to be I hit you or you hit me, and we'll see what happens. But that one's sort of with all the grindy units. So Staying Stone's important to have when you can't afford not to counterattack.
Right. Whereas the one over here on the right side is basically the hammer to go with the Scarecrow Anvil.
Yeah. So looking at this mess, my guess is we see Magnalide actually just go back into the boomers and keep them stuck.
Mhm.
I don't think
Yeah.
at this point maybe it's either that or the Goblin Scouts just on top of them, because that's a strong unit to stop. But if we zoom in, their leader point is not on the hill,
Yeah, it does
and they
not.
have a very limited line of sight. And
Yep.
I don't think Brindley's worried about them flank charging that Scarecrow horde.
No.
With everything going on. That's probably not the unit he cares about. And going into a Warlock right now, there's really nothing that Soul Drain is like going to keep game breaking. Oh, well, you could always just do that. Use your height 4 Lord on Frostfang to see over the hill and charge the chaff anyways.
Yeah, and put it in a dangerous position, especially if it is out of arc from those chariots. Which I'm guess nope, it isn't. But it can.
He's hoping to kill it and walk forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill it and walk forward. Although I'm not sure if the chariots could make the pivot past the Scarecrows and be in the correct arc.
No.
He's going in the front over here instead of into the flank of the other siege breakers. That's interesting.
What the? Am I missing something? Those Huskarls into the flank of a siege breaker just felt like a charge you do.
I mean, maybe they can just barely not see them. No, you can definitely see them because you can draw a line of
6,
sight from the
7,
center.
8, 9. Maybe he wasn't able to make. Maybe we missed it. When he was moving around earlier, he did bump into the Warlord on Chariot, perhaps backing up, put them just at a weird enough angle that they hit the Chariot instead.
I mean, just get that chariot out of the damn way. Or I mean, not the chariot, the Lord. Just move him away. I don't care where.
No, I think the Huskarls, when they pivoted, because it was like the first thing he checked, he did bump into the Warlord on Chariot. Maybe the Huskarls actually couldn't fit. Although that does ask, why didn't the Chieftain take the flank?
Exactly. Yeah. He had it clearly lined up. I don't know why.
But, I'm not the one in the game. It's very easy that, we might have missed an arc being tested while we're over here looking at other stuff.
Maybe. I mean, maybe
the butchers block the pivot is what KOW Road Warrior, who I have no idea who that is, but
no matter how he did it.
Okay.
I do like the Lord on Frostfang charge, because when you clicked on the Chariot Horde, it actually looks like it's in the Lord on Frostfang's rear arc, which they'd have no way to place.
Yeah.
And then even if he kills the goblins and opts to reform 0 degrees, he's looking at a hell of a position to be devastating, either coming in to help try and pop boomers or going into the flank of some siege breakers. He's in a really annoying spot. It's a baby dragon, and once you take away fly, and rear flank and rear charges, he's swinging well above his point cost offensively.
And that's one of those. This is the second time in this game, and it's happened sort of over the whole weekend of casts, where you see someone see a vulnerable unit, throw a character that is, or a unit that is strong. We always sort of talk about like, oh, well, that into a flank and a rear, that's going to do some damage. And my initial impression was like, well, how do you get them in that position? How do you get them around the flanks or whatever? And this is another way of doing that, is you see a vulnerable unit in the middle of their battle line, and you just fly in there, not literally, charge in there, punch them in the face, and then you can reform and just create problems.
And I think we'll see Brindley move his right flank up a little bit. There's the Huskarl support from the idea that if Matt decides to pop that Scarecrow horde, because really that's what's at threat right now.
Yeah.
And turn to look, he's got to choose. Do I pressure the Lord on Frostfang and let this murder cav get in on me? Or do I stay the course and sort of accept that now I have, at this range, we'll call it what it is. This is a pseudo dragon. It's a nimble, small platform with a limited number of attacks, but they're very efficient. So I'll call it like it is. That's a pseudo dragon.
We're going into the monster manual and pulling out
pseudo dragon. In the Talking Tactics episode with Andrew Summers about like Hammer and Anvil, he talked about weight, like the weight of the dice you can bring, and we talked about how smaller footprint but more dice has its own merits that have to be considered. And it's something about that platform, that 50 mil murder bucket, it can fit damn near anywhere.
Yeah, and we see it, the 50 by 50 millimeter square, which is less prevalent as a problem in third edition than it was in second, when every monster sat on murder bucket.
That was my ticket in second, was that triple 50 mil, or sometimes 450 mil, and I did very well with it, and I still see that prevalent now in armies that have access to it.
Yeah,
it's
and
nasty.
Even just that square, but like we saw some really strong Empire of Dust monster mash lists. We saw the sort of double or triple flying Revenant on Worm. There's all kinds of things, and the Varangur / Northern Alliance are keeping that banner flying for really tough 50 millimeter square walk-in monsters.
Now we see over here a play on the right that Brindley is doing really well. Matt did a great job protecting this corner with the Warlord on Chariot. That's not something you can let run free. It's really just a Lord on Frostfang with the Chariot base. But what Brindley is doing is that impassable terrain. He's basically using it, saying, you're in my flank. Good job by you. You can't place the model.
Yep.
You physically can't put it between the house and me. So even though you're there pressuring aside, it's not a threat.
Yeah, and
like you're keeping me from going forward, but I'm also not in a risk of being punished for taking this board space. And he's really sort of making those chariot hordes come out and play, which is what the Dire Fangs want. They want to pick up a chariot horde. It's a nerve bank gone. It's a lot of points, and it's one of the few things that I think realistically in Matt's ogre list can kill the Frostfangs, because they're just faster than the Siege Breakers, and I don't see them losing, at least on this flank, to Siege Breakers. The other one, he's probably going to need a Siege Breaker charge.
Maybe. And those are the Frostfangs with haste, so they are the same speed as the chariots. So he does need something to draw them
So
out.
we go into melee. We see the Frostfangs with the Staying Stone do what Frostfangs do, and that's one-shot stuff.
And that does pick up the chariot.
Now the reform here is going to be sort of interesting.
Stay.
Because those Siege Breakers are naked, so forcing them to take a hindered charge in the front bodes really well. but I don't think that Frostfang unit's inspired.
Which Frostwing unit?
we-
The one on the left?
The one that just popped the chariot, are they inspired currently? Oh, he
Just
just made a
barely.
rotation to get him into inspiring.
Just
me-
barely. Yep.
Let me just
That-
let me dip a toe. Let me dip a
Right.
toe. into the fire.
Hey, that's a clean play. You're still keeping the hindered flank. Now, Matt with the Warlock, conversely, could force a double time with the Warlock over to the left and try and get the Siege Breakers to land in an unhindered position.
Yeah,
But it's gonna be tough to try and pull that off with how much of that coverage. I'd say a solid like 3/5 of that, 2/5 of that base is hindered. But don't be afraid to use those heroes to give yourself an advantage in a charge. And it's something,
it makes me wish he had a Cav hero right now.
yeah,
One
I
of the-
mean, you could just play goblins with like 26 drops, but he chose to
little
play
red-
something that's good at this game.
No, but he's got red goblins. He's got those.
I mean, I'd rather have a warlock than a red goblin. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does, because the trade-off is then you're not using drain life and you're not applying pressure. But if you can one-shot a Dire Fang,
Oh, and there's
That's,
Snake Eyes. We have
oof.
Snake Eyes on the Goblin Scouts right in the middle of the table.
Yeah,
it's not the worst Snake Eyes though, because the Lord on Frostfang is taller and he's not in a position to be capitalized on. He could disengage and nimble charge another target anyways.
so we have a rules question, sort of coming on the back, which is
Mhm.
if that chariot can make contact with the corner of the mounted suns on the right-hand side,
Mhm.
right? Would you then be allowed to, if there is room, pick up in place so that the chariot is behind that piece of impassable?
You
still on the
still need to no, not to my understanding, because you would be not making any, like, you wouldn't be able to close the door where you made contact. Of course, I have every D&D book next to me, but I don't think I have the Kings of War rule book. Look at this art for this 4th edition Monsters of the Grave, right? That helps everyone on this podcast, or this podcast. Wow, what am I, plugging my own content?
I only review book covers from pre like 1995, I think, at this point.
Oh,
for
like-
D&D, so.
You mean this one?
No, that's still
No, way further back.
that's third.
I don't
edition.
have anything further back within easy reach of me. You guys can't hate on me because I'm a youngling.
Britain's doing like 2nd edition old school.
first and second edition cover rankings. But anyways, back to the.
We'll have to ask the rules question. I'm just going to ask my local metas rules
So
book.
Rosado, one of the Rosados has come in, and saying even if they picked up and placed at the angle the mounted suns are, the chariot base still wouldn't fit. So I don't know. I can't tell.
I'm not sure. We'll have to see. The other question is, I didn't check the range, but there's a chance that Warlord's actually in range of the Frostfangs because he's taller than the Mounted Suns. He might be able to just go commit to the Frostfangs and tie them up.
Yeah, and that's definitely a play. I'm just not sure if that's getting it.
No, it doesn't have range. He's half an inch short.
My brilliant plan thwarted by physics once again. I think measuring is physics.
Geometry.
Now, look at those boomers, guys. 8 wounds is no. I mean, they're not wavered, but that's not something you're going to be able to drain life and recover from.
No.
Wait a minute.
That
So we
unit's
got
sort of at the.
spicy movement happening.
Yeah.
Spicy movement alert. Right hand chariots have said, "I'm about to peace out of this entire situation."
Yep. So I
Those
think
Huskarls are going to take it.
Yeah, Brindley tried to back the Huskarls up off the hill, I believe, and only rolled a 1, so was not able to.
He
get them
did.
back. But I guess it doesn't
Now
matter
the
because
question.
they're tall enough to see over the hill anyway, right?
But my question
Are we
is, yes, they are tall enough. My question is, in that position, it's almost, I think, turn and face the chariots. Because a front charge into Huskarls, those ogre chariots aren't guaranteed to pop them. They have a lot of nerve, defense 5, which doesn't really matter against ogre chariots, but they have a lot of nerve.
But he has to get out of the arc of the big scary dire fangs, right?
Yeah, he'll have to get out of that arc. But it's definitely one of those. I'm not sure if backing up was a play that really benefited him at all, because of the fact that they're height 4. Just rotating right there and saying, look, if you're going to charge me, it's a front charge, and if you don't kill me, A, I'm Huskarls with sharpness, and B, I've got Frostfangs.
Frostfangs coming from behind, yep.
And the other Huskarls could literally just pivot and corkscrew in if they live, because again, they're height 4. So it's one of those, maybe he forgot that they could see over the hill.
Can we
And
see
that happens.
can we see the range on the wizard on the far left? Him. Did he have an opportunity to just hustle straight forward and block the hinder charge for the siege breakers? Do we know? Was that an
He
available
just
play?
moved 6 inches to there. So
Yeah, he would.
he probably did. But whether, there's so much room for those siege breakers to move over.
Because that's an interesting. There could have been an unhindered charge there if he was willing to. We'll have to see what he gets from this.
Yeah, it would be tough to figure out like where exactly to place the warlock that still let the siege breakers fit, but it's easy enough to drop a proxy, put them in there, and just say, all right, here's as far over as I can shift. Let me put the warlock there.
Yeah, I think that might have been
an interesting play.
I think that might have been we'll see what happens with the rest of the turn. But I think that would have been a way to guarantee a break on those. Not guarantee, but give a good chance.
It certainly hurts. And the siege breakers countering into the chieftain on Direfang, that guy doesn't have a lot of nerve. Excuse me. So there's a good chance the chieftain won't be there. There's a really good chance the Huskarls won't be there. So that opens up a lot of rotation. And if he was able to also pop the Frostfangs, that turns an entire flank in one go.
Yep. So I think there could have been a good. We'll want to note this for the after game. Is did you see that and opt out, or did you not see it and because we're not playing the game and only have to think about a couple of things we got left?
Did he decide it's more important to drain life on the Direfang and try and make sure that it's dead? You know, what was the thinking? So and then the question for Brindley is, did you just forget that chariots are height 4?
We got a far right. We got another version of this question, which is, if there's room for that chariot to fit on the back, if it moves out from behind the wall, turns basically its sharpest pivot it can, and then jams into that little gap so it makes contact with its corner against the sort of back-ish flank of the mounted suns, right? Could it then be contacting the point it charged, pick up in place, and fit?
I would think so.
So there might
I know the rules say like closest charge, but at the same time it's got to be a closest legal charge. So if that's the closest legal charge is the point in the very, very back, and that chariot can place, it may not be a protected unit, because I wouldn't argue that on a table. Like I certainly wouldn't call over a TO if you showed me I come up, I pivot legally, I move all the way back to your back corner, and then place still touching that spot.
Yeah.
You know, that's not something that I would be like, that feels gamey. I'd be like, oh, I didn't protect this. And on a table, it's really easy. I grab my chariot blank, sit it down, and I just move that unit till there's no physical way.
And this is another great example for why having blank bases at a tournament is great. Even in UB, it's great to bring it out.
Even in casual play, it just keeps the game like so much more. There's no got you moments when I just put the blank down. I'm like, hey, you can't place here. Thanks.
I think that's legit. I'm looking at what you guys are saying, and you're talking about taking this chariot that's over here next to the building, moving it forward, pivoting it,
basically doing a 90 almost.
Yeah, going in at an angle, touching the back corner of this unit here, and then picking it up, turning it sideways, and placing it so that it's on this side of the building.
I would never complain about that in a game. I would say that that's clean as clean can be.
Yeah,
And
that's fine.
anyone looking at this and being like, well, that's kind of a gamey move. It's like, well, Brindley's doing a super like abstract move.
You can't charge me because there's a
That's
house.
fine. Well, yeah, and like that's the strength of the chariot. Base size. It's long and slender, so it can turn a corner and fit through a gap like that.
Absolutely. The trade-off is if you hit them from the flank, they are the most pathetic base sizes on the planet.
So we got some
What are you?
drain life
I'm
going on
stuck.
Magnil here in the middle, and then some drain life on the Frostfangs in the forest.
So he either didn't. I mean, my only guess is he didn't see it because you would take that charge in a heartbeat if you knew it was possible.
Oh yeah.
Although that drain life hit like a brick, so there's that.
Yeah, definitely.
But you don't normally assume that drain life is going to do 4 wounds. You assume you're going to get like 1.
Yeah, that definitely makes up for the lackluster drain life last turn and on Magnilda here. Yeah.
Okay, so
those Frostfangs are kind of in trouble now, I think.
Now, I don't like drain life on Magnild in this situation because it's easy to turn around and throw drain life on that Butcher Regiment or drain life on the Lord on Frostfang units that don't have Iron Resolve and units that you can clearly see and have sort of, especially that Butcher Regiment with already 3 wounds and a decent drain life without Iron Resolve, you could really put them in a situation where a good dice roll could kill them. And the Boomers and Magnild is not a fight that the Boomers are going to win anymore, so I'd almost sort of call that a lost cause.
And that is an 11 for the nerve roll on Magnild. What's her nerve?
It looks like they did apply a wound.
Yeah.
So they put her up to 3.
Like 15 or something.
Okay. And then a 7.
Oh, that was lethal, but the follow-up definitely isn't. So show Iron Resolve back down to 2.
Yep.
This is the Magnild problem is that she has like foot regiment nerve on a 20 mil base.
Yep.
And she has average wounds with her stats of a normal foot regiment too.
Yeah, so she's a running around.
She's a terror.
Foot regiment. So.
And her fly is gone, but like we talked about now, if we click on her in her melee range, there's nothing that Brindley can't choose to charge, pretty much, that's a juicy target. He could go after Chaff. He could try and finish off the Boomers. He could turn off a Warlock. He could get a rear charge on the Siege Breakers. It doesn't triple his dice, but it lets him add in some more wounds. He could go over and shut down that Chariot Horde. There's a lot of things that you can do with a character like her.
So I think the chat is finally coming around to our view of this charge.
Which charge?
The one on the right.
That this is it would be a legal charge because you have to take the closest path, but it has to be the closest legal path.
So you just go to the back corner.
Yeah, right, like if that chariot was a flying monster, it'd be a no-brainer. You just jump over the building and that's where you land, right?
And you go right there. So if you treat it with the same thought process that sure, the closest path is illegal, but the book doesn't say you must take the closest charge and hope it's legal.
Right.
And this is something that, again, I love in Kings of War. There are no failed charges.
That takes off those Frostfangs.
Well, what do we know with our helpful advice?
Well, we didn't know about that he was going to do 4 wounds with Drain Life.
Roll big on Drain Life and it changes the equation.
He still came pretty close not getting him even.
Yeah, I mean it was still pretty much right on it, right? Like he rolled enough to get a 17. And
that staying stone would have been huge if you take that. Actually, if you take that Drain Life down to 2, they're still there. But
they're still there.
Ifs don't really count without time machines. So
and then an unhindered Siegebreaker charge, I still think is better if you saw it than a hindered Siegebreaker charge and a Drain Life. But
for sure. His Zero Thunderous Goblin slapping 2 wounds on the Frostfang.
Pretty big.
So one of the things I think we're going to see is I think that Frostfang is going to disengage and go take a juicy target. He is height 7 right now on a nimble platform. And, based on what happens, that could be a flank on a Warlock. That could be him disengaging and charging the Boomers in the front. The Goblins didn't boxcar him, so he's sort of looking at the world as your oyster.
Yep.
Here's the Death Parade going on the Scarecrows.
And that 11 will definitely pick them up.
Yeah, but I feel like
they are going to be inspired, I believe, with
they are.
Standard Bearer within 12.
Yeah, but the 11 was the second roll.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. I'll just drink my empty glass. Here's some
One of
water.
those
That's a
where it's
good
like,
call.
Oh, you barely made the nerve roll. Roll again, and they're like 11.
Well, you definitely made it now. What I like to do if I'm not sure what the nerve is, and I'm just like, roll it twice, and I'll see if the highest one wins.
Okay, so now we are looking at the Huskarl flank charge, right?
After he reforms, he might honestly just opt. I would sidestep the Goblin Scouts, because what that does is that prevents the Lord on Frostfang from being able to pivot and try and squeeze through that gap on Nimble and go after the boomers.
Yeah.
He may or may not fit now, but why risk it? Why risk it at all? And then those chariots with Pathfinder don't care where they go, but he definitely has to be careful about what angle he chooses. Because there's still the chieftain on Direfang if he doesn't die, who's also tall and nimble.
Mm-hmm.
You can't forget that those guys will just find a way in.
Yep. Like
and I
life,
think
they
Ashley's
find
just
a way.
having fun watching Brindley get housed. Your mic's not on, Ashley, so there's always that. Maybe she's been talking this whole time and we
I've
just
been
don't know.
talking this whole time, and I sat on my mic thing, and I was like, "Why is no one letting me talk?"
It's because you weren't.
I was like, "This isn't fair."
We're not terrible people.
I
Okay.
definitely
We
want
really
power
just
to
thought
them.
you were rooting for Matt and you
No,
didn't
I
want
was
Brindley to
like,
have it on the
someone
record.
I was like,
I'm just-
"Someone let me say something."
I'm just going to mute everybody else for the next 5 minutes. It's all you. Go for it. We're
No,
off.
no, don't do this to me. All I wanted to ask was earlier with the cab regiment, if it had been closer to the building, then the chariot wouldn't have been able to make contact near the back and turn, right?
If it was, closer than
to
50,
the building.
But it
closer
needed
than
to be
the width of the chariot base.
it needed to be at an angle where it wasn't giving its front as well. So I think there's potentially a position there where it could have protected its flank a little better. In this case, we think you didn't quite. You have to play with the angle to still give them your flank, but deny a place to place. And in this case, we think he didn't quite do that, but we also think Matt missed it. And I think I screenshotted that so we can check later about whether this would have been a legit charge or not.
I also see
no.
that someone in one of my Facebook chats also screenshotted it, so I think this discussion is far from over in the world.
21 runes in the flank of the Huskarls that decided to try and back up instead of turn to face. And you can see the power of that roll. If we take those wounds and sort of divide them by half, there's a chance those Huskarls live through a front charge.
Yep. And this so we're in bad shape if we're Brindley. We're not lost, but we've lost
a lot.
2 hammers this round, plus a couple other pieces.
He really can't afford to lose that chieftain, and he really needs the butchers to hang on. I mean, the butchers being fearless and inspired is strong, but he can't afford to lose that chieftain because those siege breakers need to be stuck, if for nothing else than to let that Lord on Frostfang flank him.
So, oh my goodness.
I'm just trying to charge my phone and everyone got to see my underbeard.
I'm sure that's what we were looking at.
I know it was.
So that was a big turn for Matt, points-wise.
See, this is the thing. I want to be here and shit talk Brindley and see him lose just because I'm a terrible person, but I also have to live with him. So if he's in a terrible mood after this, it's going to suck for the rest of the night.
No, just play in Universal Battle and you won't have to talk to him.
Oh, I don't want a game after this so I can ignore
So,
him.
bottom of 3, it looks
do you do
like
if
the
you're
chieftain
Brindley?
made it. So the chieftain made it on the reroll, which is big. I think that Lord on Frostfang has to. I almost think it has to do this flank play right here.
Mm-hmm.
So
just exactly that.
go after the shield breakers.
Trying to
You got to
get
pop
rid of the thing.
something.
Yeah, you got to pop something. You really got it.
The other option is that you slam the Huskarls in the front, or you slam the butchers in. You try and find some way to make space, but I don't think he was counting on losing the Dire Fangs.
No,
To be
that was
honest, I
definitely
wasn't counting on
surprising.
him losing the Dire Fangs.
Is there
Yeah,
a
no,
triple? that could have happened with the butchers, the flank, and it doesn't look like it because I think, yeah.
Yeah, Brindley just showed right there he couldn't fit to like move out of the way, or he couldn't even fit to charge somewhere else.
I could hear him talking about something about butchers not fitting from the living room. So
Yeah,
that's true. Our inside source to Brindley's mind has been muted this whole time.
I just take one F, and if he talks loud enough, I can kind
wait.
of hear him. Which
Now
also
he's trying to
This is
decide
the-
whether he wants the butchers instead, I guess.
Mhm.
this is advanced.
Well-
we can move into the sideline reporter style, where in between turns, Ashley runs over and is like, "So, Brindley, I see half your shit died this turn.
If you want me to do that, I will go out there.
How does that make you feel? Usually we wait until the end of the game to ask whether that hurt.
Well,
Part of me wanted to, like, while this was happening, just like yell like, "Oh shit, what the hell's he doing?" like really loudly from the bedroom so that he's just like, "What's going on? What did I do?"
So one thing that's worth considering here is if the butchers flank the goblins and they don't protrude past the siege breakers,
Mhm.
that's a front charge from vicious Huskarls into the
Yeah.
siege breakers, and then that still leaves the Lord on Frostfang to disengage
Mhm.
and take a front charge on those boomers, freeing up Magnalide to
Mhm.
try and go maybe waver the goblin scouts in front of that chariot horde.
Yeah, so
Yep.
this is one of those situations that I actually I've talked about it in other casts. I love in Kings of War, where you look at a board state and you're like, okay, there's
10
4
plays.
or 5 options that can be done. What is the optimal one that will get me the most results? And you get these cases of like, this one disengages and charges someone else after they disengage and charge someone else to open up a charge for, and you get like everyone switch stance partners.
Basically just
They all
side out, rotate, right?
And that whole idea is predicated on if the butcher regiment can charge the goblins and not stick out, it opens up a whole series of advantageous charges. But if they stick out even a little bit, we're redesigning the entire thought process for what charges go where, right? Because now we say,
Mhm.
well, is it better to put the 14 attacks in the flank on the siege breakers? And is it better to keep the chieftain in the front? Who do we turn to face the hindered siege breakers next? Do we assume the Huskarls can survive it and counterattack? What do we do?
Are Huskarls killing in one round? Are they taking down siege breakers?
I think supported by a chieftain on Direfang with brutal, because don't forget he just has brutal. He has the extra attack from Fox.
Yeah.
And that Huskarl unit's bringing vicious. So sure, it's a lot of dice. It has the damage, but Big Shield's strong. But 15-17 nerve isn't something that's immortal.
No, but if the one in the center, I get mixed up, which is Lord and which is what, Chieftain?
Mhm.
What's the
Yeah.
Chieftain bringing from the flank without the big shield? Like how much?
The
actual
Lord's
damage?
the Lord's the big guy in the
the
flank with
middle.
Mesa Crushing.
So what's that bringing to a flank charge there? It might be as much as the Huskarls bring from the front.
The Lord on Frostfang is bringing 9 attacks with
So
crushing
18.
strength 3.
Yeah, so
18 from the
18
flank
on-
crush 3.
on
Yep,
threes
and
with
Mesa
crush.
Crushing.
That's doing more. It's just, can that be applied somewhere else more effectively, since the Huskarls really only have one thing they could do? I mean, I think this is just one of those games where, like, we've said it a bunch. It's a cliche, but like Matt's turn attacks and he takes off a big chunk of the army, but now Brindley has a potential here to counterattack and take off 2-3 pieces of his own.
So what we're saying is this kill scenario, things are dying. I'm very
Yeah.
shocked.
Okay.
This is my shocked face,
Swings back and forth a whole lot.
which is kind of fun for us though.
Columbus is rooting for you, Ashley. They said you should probably just not mute yourself going forward.
Yeah, I should probably not. I'm like keeping an eye that I don't sit on the mic this time.
And for
Sorry, I'm a little thick.
for sort of best practices in a video call, if you're muted again and you think we're not listening, just double middle fingers for like a minute, and we'll probably stop talking eventually.
All right, that's my next.
We do it all the time at work. It's pretty effective for communication.
I
Yeah,
should try
if
that at
you
work and see how that
flail
works.
just a lot, people pay attention. You can also just start spamming inappropriate stuff in chat, and say, "Hey, is my
Yeah.
mic working?"
Yeah. I honestly just thought
We
you guys
wouldn't
were so,
ignore
like-
you because we're not Brindley.
I thought you guys were just so fired up about what was going on that you were like, Ashley, shut the fuck up. I want to finish what I'm saying.
We are fired up enough to cut each other off because we haven't commentated as a group yet and learned our ticks. But never just ignore you outright. You're not Jake.
Oh,
Mm.
goodness, you're here then.
Roasted. Back to Universal Battle.
So it looks like he's taking the Lord approach.
It's a lot of damage.
It should be dead Siegebreakers. Like, no problem.
Do you think he keeps the chieftain in the front? I don't know where else they go, really.
Block up the other Siegebreakers behind? I don't know
My
how.
one thought is disengage 1 inch,
Yeah.
back up, nimble pivot back up, and just sacrifice him to stop the Siegebreakers from taking a charge at all.
Is there a really filthy... I don't think so because of the... But is there a filthy nimble charge on the boomers?
Yeah.
He did not fit through the left flank there
I'm thinking the other
when he
side.
tried to move it.
Well, he doesn't have to disengage the whole inch. He can just disengage, stay where he is, and turn and fit through that gap, probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't fit though when he tested it earlier.
Yeah. I'm saying,
the warlock is just a little too close.
Here, before anything else happens, maybe.
This is probably the charge he makes.
Yeah.
Double in the front.
Ooh. Okay.
I think I like
Is
the other
the
guy on
math
the flank
is the
better.
math better on them being dead here though?
I don't know that it is.
Because I kind of like the Huskarls turning to face either Siegebreaker unit, come what may, and that Lord in the flank. But
Yeah,
I'm also a Goblin player, so my commentary is based on the assumption that you'll never kill anything.
No, I think I would have taken the Lord in the flank on the Siegebreakers as well.
It
Just
doesn't look
'cause
like he's
anytime-
committed though. He hasn't cleaned him up.
Yeah, he's spitballing it still. I mean, this
Let's
is
see
so
what
tough.
the math is, right? So we have
Oh.
Huskarl Regiment. That's 20 attacks on 3s, crush 2, and that one's got vicious. So it's certainly bringing some heat to the front there.
And they're defense 6 to the front, right?
Yeah, big shield. Yeah,
13, crush 2 with vicious.
So 4s re-rolling 2 dice.
So it should be about 7, 8 wounds from the Huskarls.
So the story of this game is basically the ogres rush forward. Magnil jumps over all of them. They all turn around to see where she landed. She smacks the boomers. The ogres turn back around, really pissed, and then run forward and kill a whole bunch of Varangur.
Oh,
And
Brindley's
now-
going into combat. He took the charge.
Okay. And now we're just waiting to see whether Varangur hit back or.
I think Ashley is responsible for the entire melee phase due to her lack of screen time.
Oh God, why? I feel like 90% of the time I do commentating, it's like everyone talking strat and then me just saying random shit here and there.
That's
then
what
most
we
of
need
it's-
right now because our
Yeah.
strats have been wrong.
So that's the butcher's doing only 1 wound to
Ooh.
the Siegebreakers in the front.
Yep.
And now the Huskarls.
They should have done maybe 2. So, like,
And that's only
that's-
7
that's
wounds.
Plus vicious is 9 more, so that puts him at 10.
Okay. And there's an 11.
11.
And he took
I
the
mean-
inspiring off the warlocks, remember, so they're floating
So that's
scary.
That's it.
roll good nerve.
Yeah, right. Just keep
what's,
rolling 11s for nerf. That's
What's
all.
Jesse say? If you roll only 6s, this game's easy.
Yeah.
I think actually one of the worst ones was I was told, I was like, I always hate when you want turn 7 and you don't get it, or then you get turn 7 when you don't need it. And someone's like, well, if you table your opponent before turn 6, it doesn't matter. And I was like, savage, but not wrong.
Savage.
Savage.
So, Ashley, how do you think this reform's going to go? Because it's a really important reform.
Can you zoom in a little bit because I'm blind as fuck?
Yeah.
See, I don't know how I think like I would turn to face the Siegebreakers, to be honest, and just completely turn around, I think. Or sidestep, that also works. I forget you can do that.
Something like those have to be dealt with eventually.
Yeah, like you can't just. Oh, so he's like that.
How do I turn around to see these chariots in case the Frostfangs don't pause them all?
There it is. There
Oh,
it is.
Yeah.
That's the one.
That's
Just
the
turn
play
all the
you
way
should
around.
keep. Keep it. No, keep it. Keep it.
So this Thane on Direfang, isn't he nimble? Couldn't he have, after backing up, turned to face the siege breakers, or does he figure he's already got 6 wounds? Screw him, he's dead anyway.
My guess is that one, but technically you're correct. Because it looked like he just did a clean disengage and then
Yeah.
pivoted at that angle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he's
I feel like
nimble,
it would-
so
So an update on everyone's favorite topic. The chat has come to consensus that you do need to align at a point of contact when you turn and face or when you pick up in place. But we
Yeah.
also still think that they could have done that with a legal charge just through shenanigans.
yeah.
Maybe.
The Kings of War
Yeah.
community coming together on a rules is rare.
Yeah, you always have to,
What time is it? How much is it everyone had to drink? That might help.
might help. Yeah, you always have to slide as close to the center as you can on the pickup in place while still
I've had-
maintaining contact with the original point of contact.
One commemorative TNT glass worth of Jim Beam honey and Coke.
See, the thing for
One
me is-
giant coffee cup of that was coffee and whiskey.
The thing for me is I never worry too much about the pickup in place and contact because I'm playing orcs or kingdoms of men where we
Yes,
take up everyone's frontage.
Right.
How do you fit? I don't. Oh, okay.
It's like I fit one way.
Right.
And that's it.
Now,
You're just bringing
far
real
right-
estate to the table.
the far right cav now, no one would argue there is no charge on that flank from the chariot.
Oh,
No.
yeah. Yeah.
As soon
now.
as he repositioned that way, it was very clear.
What's the charge?
True.
Okay, so that's an interesting choice with the butchers and the huscarls to just sort of commit all in on the angle.
Yeah.
I think he's assuming Magnalide and the Lord on Frostfang will clear up the middle and both be able to turn.
Hmm.
And that's he's hoping that chariot unit in the middle either won't fit, won't have a good charge, will have to do something else, will want to deal with the Direfangs that are currently putting up.
Wow. He did how much
hurt.
damage?
Was that 14 damage?
14.
Yep.
14 damage plus a 4. Does that not get them? What's the
That's an
nerve on the chariot?
18.
So,
So
was
they're
it
wavered.
Okay.
Can we see the arc? Does that mean they're flanked by the chariot horde or are they fronted? The undamaged one.
Front.
What?
Yeah.
Wait.
Front.
Whoa.
Looks
He-
like front.
Oh,
It's front.
He Magnil just punched
Oh.
the boomers in the face.
She sure did.
That's how I feel about those.
9 and a 9
Ex-
for nerve checks.
expected, but not great. He didn't need a 9 and a 9, but it doesn't hurt to roll.
Yeah.
Because she is gonna
So on the
pick
chariot,
targets.
he had 14 and then he rolled 4. Is that
4.
right? Yeah.
There should have been a waiver, right?
No, it is a waiver. Yeah.
Yeah. They just
They're
didn't.
17.
Frostfangs are Frostfangs not innate brutal?
No, they are not. They are.
Why don't
crushing
they
two,
have more
Strider, and
special
Malachite.
rules? They're clearly not good enough.
Why don't they have special rules that just make it so that I can say things on stream?
But that's called technology, Ashley.
This is
So
true.
that will definitely pick up those Goblin Scouts here in the middle.
Yep.
Lord.
Whew.
As the resident Brindley trash talker, what do you have to say to Matt right now?
Matt, I think we need this to end with everyone dead. Everyone gets 1 unit left. 1 unit.
It's headed that way, to
Hey.
be honest.
Pick your. This is the bottom of 3. Look at this empty board. And you know what? Actually, I kind of like the fact that the chariots got wavered there, because it means that the next chariots have not much to go on right now.
Well, no, they in front or flank
They're
of
front.
the Direfangs?
The Frostfangs. They're
Yeah,
front.
is it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
front.
that's a
That's
front.
definitely a front.
That looks like a front.
Which means that chariot horde's just sort of left with the option to back up until
Yeah.
there's space for someone to get in.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it buys them a turn of you can't get in there and take a hit on them. So the Frostfangs are probably stay woundless.
And the butchers and the mounted sons looks like picked up the goblin scouts that they were double charging.
Yep.
Pretty
Which way
easily.
is he turning that unit?
Looks like
Okay.
Matt accidentally shifted the chariot horde with Pathfinder over, probably just trying to check the arc. So hopefully that didn't shift his center line on accident.
Spoopy.
It's not something you would notice unless you keep movement logs on, which no one does when they're playing. But it happens constantly when you're checking arcs.
There was a goblin scout unit over here that these two on the right that these two units picked up, right?
Yeah, they just picked
Yeah,
up something.
it is gone.
Okay.
Pew, pew.
That warlord on chariot, unfortunately, now is sort of he's going to be a turn 5, turn 6 contributor.
Mhm.
But with everything being faced back to the warlord, he's going to be able to chase in, which turn 6 could result in just free points.
Interesting. All right, so a couple of big swingy turns here in turn 3. Both guys picking up like 600 points worth of units, 700 points each.
Mm-hmm.
It was the armor sandbred on chariot. Thank you. I was thinking we were missing one.
The warlord on the far right is still the one up and running. I'm guessing he's done the same trick with the mounted sons.
Yeah, they're still safe if you zoom in.
Giving them a front and not giving them an actual charge because
A rear. He's actually turned the mounted sons to face into the battle.
So the wavered unit, because they're chariots and not normal ogres, they can actually move back pretty far, 4 inches, which is just over 100 mil, which should give the front charge to the other chariots to come in and try again.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Did a
Which is
sidestep
probably
and
what's
pivot
happening.
with the goblins to
Yep.
let them see rear charges, flank charges, etc., etc.
Yep.
In the coming
And there they
turn.
go.
Although,
Yep. There they go.
So
that
that's
lord
what
on
I heard them talking about when I was out there.
yeah,
how
the lord
fast
on
are the
Frostfang is
chariots?
going to pick up something though.
Are the chariots a 9 or are they an 8?
For speed?
Yeah.
8.
Ogre chariots are speed 8,
How far
and they're
But how far back did he back them up then?
is that just an inch separating them? It seems further than there would be a gap.
well. Don't
there.
forget, you get your 1 inch disengage, and then your 4 inch
yeah,
backstep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
hold on one
it's-
sec then.
He's good then.
Click the other
Yeah.
unit. Click the one with the wounds on it. How many is that?
He's good.
Oh yeah,
He's
it's
good.
5. Yeah, it is. It just looks different.
I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
you're good.
They're right.
We're good. We're good. Perfect. Also,
Oh, good.
guys, we need to remind me not to drink coffee on stream, so I don't have to keep running away.
You should drink pee, or
You
that's
should
not what
drink
I meant to
tea.
say.
What the fuck?
You should drink
I don't know
tea because that'll
Hold on.
help.
Yes, that'll obviously help much better.
I think he's going to see if he can actually squeeze in a corner charge on the Huskarls.
Interesting.
I don't know. I think the Lord might overhang them by just a little bit.
If he can pull it
Maybe.
off, though, that's
I don't know.
definitely something that I'm not sure Brindley was expecting. I don't know if a hindered Siegebreaker unit pops defense 5 Huskarls, though. And if you
Okay.
fail, you're flanked by Huskarls because their leader point's way off to the side.
Way over to the side, yeah. Flanked by Huskarl and probably this chieftain as well, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a desperation play. It's a let me see if I fit, and then I'll determine if I actually want to do it. It's the
Yeah.
whole like, can I do it? And then you're like, wait a minute, do I actually want to?
Brindley cleaning the middle was a big swing.
Yeah, but that waiver on those chariots, the new fresh chariot horde coming in now has a chance to pop Dire Fangs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Who even though Lord on Frostfang is very inspiring, I don't know if he's within 9. They may be naked, like out in the wind.
3, 6. I
So
think they
Sean
are.
is justifying my coffee drinking habits because I'm a nurse, and he says late at night, and it's so cute that he thinks it's late at night right now.
each of those units should be 4 inches deep, and then there's an inch gap between them, and then there's a gap between the.
Yeah, so they're definitely
Yeah, they're not
those
inspired.
dice roll even an inkling hot. That Frostfang's not going to exist, and then that's a problem because you have a full hit point one.
Yep.
Turning to look at butchers.
Not yet, and not much left to take care of them. Although the rear one that's already got 14 wounds, like that's something that Magnild could potentially pick up by herself next.
Yeah.
Yeah, Magnilda or the Lord, either one of those can just go have fun.
Yeah.
And that's a Pathfinder unit, right? That's the one.
Yeah.
Which one?
Mhm.
The wounded one is Strider. The fresh one is Pathfinder.
Yeah. So this is what we're looking at with that. Should be, 13 hits ish. They don't have anything else that should buff that up. And then their Thunder's 2, Crush 1, so they should be on 2s at that point.
Yeah, so we're looking at like 10 to 10 to 11 wounds.
And that, with Brutal, that's a really good
matters.
popping things.
Matt opted to go ahead and try and clear out the Butcher Regiment.
Yeah.
Much lower nerve, dash 15, already at 3 wounds with Brutal. And they are not inspired because Matt has no inspiring over there for them to steal off of.
Yep.
So he has a good chance to kill it in turn, although his reform sort of just saying take 2 front charges.
Mhm.
But do you think that's the lesser of 2 evils? Do you think he needed to try and find a different charge, or is that the right play?
He didn't. I mean, at this point, you might as well get there.
But also, like, you got to think points wise too, right? So, which one is there in that's blocking with 7 damage on it? It's the
Chieftain.
Chieftain. I'm just looking at point stuff.
And
It's
is
a
he
chieftain
even worth
that's,
killing?
145 points.
Which is more than the butchers. But
And again, back to the Chariot Horde. Those Frostfangs are 15, 17. He should be on an easy waiver. Might be on a kill.
Looks like he's trying to pick up that chieftain with some drain life.
yeah,
That's always a tool. There's no cover on that.
That's a good play.
Using the nimble on the warlock on the left there to get him out of the way and still cast, it looks like.
Yep. And he is 13, 15, and that puts him at 9 wounds.
That helps.
I'm assuming
can
the
heal
heal went on the chariot.
The chariots.
Went on
Yep.
the chariots, yeah.
So that was the close
So
one.
what the heck's going on the right?
I don't know. I think maybe he was in the rear. The chariot was in the rear of the butchers, so he just moved up because he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to hide behind this building and not be able to charge anything anymore. I'm moving up here to
Everything's just
see.
faced away.
It kind of just looks like they're going on a little drive,
Yeah.
hanging out.
I like that position because he's still not chargeable there. But if anyone goes to fight, that chariot's now in range of wherever they end up. So he has to guarantee 1 shots in a turn.
Right.
Or that's
Wouldn't you want
what
to at least threaten the Suns? I mean,
I think if the Suns are sitting there not charging, Matt's getting the advantage because that's a lot of points of Death Machine just sitting there scoring a bonus token.
yeah, but I mean, like the butchers turn around. I guess you're fine because this is a nimble cav base. So like if the butchers try and block you up without charging, you'll just go around them because you're tall.
Oh, are they okay? 14. Exacties.
Yep.
Oh, because of Brutal. Yeah, Brutal just got it.
So Brutal just picked up the Butcher Regiment
Yep.
from the Sea
That's
Traders.
a charge he couldn't have failed.
No, he was dead to dead if that got through. That drain life picking up the Frostfang.
I think he's going to try and go forward instead of turning to face.
No one. Pizza Jesus, no one.
That's a ballsy play.
That is a ball.
That's super ballsy.
I
It
love
is
What?
it.
super
And
ballsy.
I don't know if
Three
it's a play
Yeah,
you even
it
need to
makes
risk. Just take
Yeah.
the turn and face and grind it out with defense 6, man, and soul drain.
Ah, he rolled
And
a
the
1.
one.
Pizza Jesus left
Oh
him.
no.
No, it's a false profit for you.
Ugh.
Mm,
I'm gonna go ahead and type in their game just so he knows what I said because it was witty and I loved it. I forget how to spell profit, so I guessed.
you guessed wrong.
You
That's okay.
guessed
No, that-
very wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm not good at math or words.
I was gonna say if you finish with just that sentence with "I'm not good at math," I was gonna be like, "Sweetie, these are letters."
Math has letters in it.
Why have you phrased?
Mm.
Oh my god.
So that's
But,
I feel like if
that
he hadn't
is
said
rough,
anything about needing the 1, he probably wouldn't have got the 1.
right?
But yeah, I think,
I
it was
think
too
he
much
also
hype.
would have maybe failed it on a 2, but my question still stands. Why even risk it? You have a
Just
great
his
chance
turn.
of living
No,
through a
I
front
think he wouldn't
charge.
have missed it on a 2. On a
Yeah.
2, I think he was out of the arc.
No,
Still
that-
ballsy.
That's a 3-up. It looks like that he would have needed, which isn't bad,
You
but
sure?
it's
No, because that's
No,
for the arc.
that's green, dude. They are just within 1 inch now. One
Yeah.
more inch, I think, would have taken them out.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but I don't know. That's just such a strange play.
Yeah.
You got defense 6 in the front. You got double soul drain, and if Maleg,
So there's 12
Matilda's-
wounds on the crossfangs, and a 5 will pick them up.
I mean, really. So this is a risk versus reward thing, right?
Yeah.
He could have opted into the grind, doing nothing, or he could have. If we're saying that's a 2-up to go for a really good position where he's putting those Huskarls in a very bad spot, because a charge from the Siege Breakers is going to win that grind.
Mhm.
You're saying don't risk the 2-up.
I'm saying in a position where you don't need to risk it. You've got the cav. So even if you pass it, the Huskarls, you're now facing down. The Huskarls can just sort of move and also reposition.
Yep.
But if you turn to face, the Huskarls have to try and pop you from the front, and you have 2 casters with Soul Drain to support you. And if Brindley spends a character to go fight a Warlock, he's not spending it to fight like the Goblin Scouts.
Yep.
That are now nimble and are saying, I can charge you in the rear. I can do this. I can go score a bonus objective. Because that's something you have to consider. Those bonus objectives are still in the game. So that Goblin Scout troop, that's free points right now for Matt if he can keep them alive.
I mean, Ogre Nerve, those Huskarls can get them. That's a
Definitely can.
like,
So,
mean-
but those chariots just one shot at the other frostfangs.
Yeah, that's
Yep,
Uh,
that was a good. There was a good
that's-
chance there. The
that
was
was
a big-
gonna happen.
That was a big swing turn for Matt. They
Yeah,
are
that
playing
was-
kill, and you do have to win by 10%. They're playing 2,300 points, so they have to win by 10% or 230. So now going into the bottom of 5, Matt just put himself over into the win territory with 340.
How are we at
we'll
the
s-
bottom of 4?
I know, right? And they got like no units left. It's gonna be like a mutual
Oh.
tabling or something.
Yeah, they're like each just have like 1 unit left.
what item do those Huskarls have?
Yeah, which ones are these ones? They're
Vicious.
vicious.
That's
so they have
vicious.
the chance of
Vicious.
hate.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like
My guess here is we see the Lord into the Chariot Horde. We see Magnolide into the Goblin Scouts. And of course the Huskarls take the glorious Pizza Jesus given flank.
I
And
mean,
we'll
that-
see a lot of points change hands here.
Yes.
So the thing
I
is,
trust
Huskarls
the dice roll.
they're doing with Vicious. They're doing what, 9-ish, 10-ish?
Yeah, it's not great on a 15-17.
No, I
With
mean
the
that.
multi
I would say the chances of that is higher. Like you have more likely to get popped on that than you do from a 2 out of 6 chance of getting out of their arc.
Yeah,
right?
no, now that I'm thinking about it that way, I think, yeah, maybe it was better to just go for it, take the risk, right?
It's a risk reward, and I totally understand Kyle's point, and I think it's true. I just think that Huskarls to the front. I don't know. The odds I think might be that you are more likely to get popped in one go than you were.
I think if we're playing something where having the unit strength alive is really important, I agree with Matt's play. I think in a mission like Kill, where if we grind, I take it. I don't know, but that was
The-
last turn, and what matters now is that
Right.
Brindley was just in range to pull
Where
a
are we?
double hindered charge.
So this is the Huskarl flank charge.
Yeah.
Those are the vicious rerolls where he's only getting one more. So that's 12 wounds.
That's
Okay.
really
So
low.
There's a 5.
That is
There's
really low.
there's an 8.
Oh, but I got him.
There's
no inspiring.
over there.
No inspiring there. Brindley is thanking God out there. I can hear him. That was very loud from the living room. Like I can hear him through my headset right now.
So after all that talk in the beginning, all that holding back, the one charge so far the Sons of Korgan have gotten was still hindered.
Was still hindered.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's now just desperately hoping they do Sons of Korgan things, but
And there go the chariots that were already
Chariots are
wounded.
gone now.
Yep.
yeah, this is. I mean, we're back into Brindley winning.
It's every turn though, right? One person goes, boom. Next person goes, boom.
I definitely think popping those siege breakers though is really the turning point, because that's sort of the last. I don't want to call it the last threat, but the Huskarls really don't care about an ogre rear charge and an ogre front charge from the warlocks, and you're not going to soul drain them out in time.
No, and the thing was, there's this sort of idea where Matt on one side has this chariot on the far right flank, and before that happened, he had siege bringers on the far left, and they were able to sort of point in and project threat towards where all of Brindley's units were.
You mean
Now
the kill funnel.
Yeah, now Brindley has the Huskarls on the outside facing in, and that last remaining chariot full threat in the middle. Even if they're not popped here, their days are certainly numbered.
Oh, I was like, where are we doing combat? They're gone, so there goes the Goblin Scouts.
So there
as
go
well.
the other goblins. That's going to be another 100 points.
Her doing stuff.
We're doing work.
Some of the comments talking about things like, why haven't I watched these before? There's a reason people say we're the replacement for sports. And by we're, I mean mostly the guy right up top there. This is all Mike's fault.
Yeah, this was a glimmer in my eye like 2.5 weeks ago.
Thank you for doing this, though.
I think this might actually be your fault, Ashley, though, because we were talking on our -28 thread of like, hey, there's nothing else going on except this massive 140-person online tournament. Maybe we should cover it somehow. And you were like, maybe we could cover the individual games. And I was like, huh.
I think that might have been me. Yeah, I was like,
maybe we could.
That might have been me.
And
yeah.
now you can't
And now
stop
we can't.
because you'll be hunted down and blamed.
And also,
No, now I am
still can't watch
documenting how to do
hockey,
this.
So.
I've documented how to do this so that like Britain or like Elliot or somebody like that can host them if I don't feel like it.
What I
It's
thought
about
was
time
great,
you,
I think
it's
it
about
was,
time you made that new user guide, Mike.
Right, for the 2-week-old
yeah, I saw
platform.
that. I think it was great though. I think it was Mike Rossi posted a picture and he was like had one of the -28 streams up on his TV and like watching it. Like I was like, yeah, this feels like we're watching sports and I love it.
That's kind of a Mike Rossi play, though. I love that guy,
like,
but that strikes me as something he would do if sports were still on.
Yeah, I have no sports, so I'm going through withdrawal.
Canada has
that
sports.
was like a that
Not
was like
right
a,
now. Everything's closed, my dude. They took
that was like
hockey from me.
That was like a 600-point turn for Brindley, I think, and it swings
Oh
it all
my
the way
God.
back over to him.
Yeah.
280 once again.
The chariot's not dying. Do we have range on the Warlord on Chariot to take out the Korrigan? Hindered though he'll be, it's still pain.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16. No, he can't get to them. He cannot get to
So
them.
he's going to take out Butchers, and we'll see the
He's
Chariots
right.
into the Mounted, and then
Yeah,
it's Warlock play. But I don't see an
Yeah, I mean-
optimistic outcome for this fight.
This has been
Because
bloody.
that Lord on Frostfang is still there. Even if the kills go well, that Lord on Frostfang and Magnalite are both going to say, like, worst case scenario, we can double charge something in the front. Even if you chaff our Huskarls all day.
Yeah, crazy plans. Any soul drains or multi charges available into it's really just soul drain, I think, into the mounted Suns. Because you have to kill the Suns. The Suns are the
And
thing.
The Sons of the
He's
Points.
only
yeah.
throwing one soul drain in there because those aren't large infantry, so they're not buffing the Warlock soul drain. So it's soul drain 5 that you also have to find line of sight to, with them being smaller.
Actually, hold up. The Huskarls with Chant of Hate are the same points as the Mounted Sons. And they have the same nerve and the same defense.
Yeah, but you're not facing them with a chariot horde that gets a bunch of licks. Do you go after the butchers with the chariot horde in order to try and shift over and then spin to not be in the Huskarl or not in
the Lord's rear, having the Lord get a rear charge.
Still, you have like a flank or something from that Lord just doing awful things to you.
Probably.
I think you just have to slam at the Mounted Sons and hope you can get them, and let your Warlord on Chariot take out the Butcher Regiment with the hindered flank, and then just play the chaff game, drain life game with the Warlocks and hope for the best. And at this point, it might be worth drain lifing the Lord on Frostfang and trying to pull a waiver to prevent him from doing shenanigans.
And if you blow up those butchers and you counter can we get an arc on the Huskarl?
Yeah.
Is there a way to, when you center on the Suns, to flip so that you're pointing directly down screen to maybe ride that line? I guess we'll see. But
it looks really, really tight.
You can at least force a front.
Toit.
But that's still bad.
Yeah, I don't know. You slide over to here. I suspect that Matt is doing the math right now to find out exactly how many points he needs to try to get in the next 2 rounds, and that's what the holdup is right now.
So this is another.
Brindley's also in the bathroom.
The Lord on Frostfang.
I'm like, I know what's going on. I live with the man.
Yeah. The Lord on Frostfang being 15-17, but already having 2 wounds, puts it in the same boat. And from a kill perspective, that guy's 205 points, so he's not exactly sitting on chump change there.
No, he's not. He's not.
And the idea being that he's also, I would argue, the most flexible threat, because he's the only one in range to catch the Warlord on Chariot. The Soul Drain there, if you do well and you can get a waiver, if you get a kill, great, but if you can pull a waiver, that gives your Warlord on Chariot another turn to try and respond to a threat and maybe pick up a kill or react.
Yeah, so
but the only one in range.
What are you doing with, if you're Brindley, what are you doing with McNill next turn? Are you just punching one of those Warlocks to take away half the drain life? Or
it depends. If you get the waiver, she has to go, I think, on that Chariot. If the waiver doesn't happen and the Frostfang is there, I think she's just turning off a drain life and saying, hey, this is the coffin, here's the lid.
Right.
But if you're going to swing for the fences, I think you swing, my call is Chariots to Mounted, Lord into the flank of the Butchers, and double drain life on the Wounded Thane, or whatever the hell it's called.
The thing that's on a 50 mil base.
The Lord on
the Tauntaun with teeth.
Yeah.
The pseudo dragon.
The pseudo dragon. And that's the play I see. And maybe you chaff the Huskarls, maybe you don't. You could just let them look into the empty void and accept that your Chariots are dead either way. And you're keeping the points alive with the Warlocks. But
either way, I feel like we've seen kind of exactly what we expected out of a Berengar Ogre kill matchup, right? Just straight at each other, full speed, blasting away, lots of stuff dead.
Just boom, boom.
There were some
third of the game left and not much left alive.
There were some really fun out of nowhere charges that I enjoy when I'm commentating and not having them done to me.
Yeah,
I think Brindley, when he looks back at this, should be proud of the sort of tricky charges he snuck in a few spots. The Magnilda charge was great. The sort of Lord on Frostfang that is still within probably 6 inches of his original position when he charged in and took out those Goblin Scouts, and it's just been wreaking havoc in there. Both those characters are still in his opponent's backfield and influencing the game on, turn 5. So
absolutely, he built the position well, and hearing for Brindley and his brilliant strategy the whole time.
Yes, that is clearly what was happening. Let's continue to believe that. Also,
I'm excited in this game to see, Matt playing his signature army in his sort of signature style. This is what he does. He brought ogres, which is great. Not some mess around army that he's never played that the internet picked. And then
personally attacked. He's gonna personally attack.
This is Mike Atkins' fault. He did roll the dice that picked Brindley's list out of the two. Not that he knew what the lists were.
And then
I
Brindley,
did not see the ogre charge coming.
Yeah,
didn't
he
see
sent both warlocks into the front and rear of the Huskarls.
Yep.
It's dice.
It's dice.
Are
It
you
keeps-
are you
it
more
keeps them
likely
from
to kill that
charging.
unit?
No, it just keeps him from charging next turn. I guess he figures like he's gonna get punched one way or the other. Might as well sacrifice a
You know what I
warlock
really-
instead of the chariots. Maybe.
I gotta
know.
say, I like the fact that the boys are talking in their Discord server, but are still just like making sure we know all their little antidotes through the chat. It's so great.
9 and 3 is going to be a 12. That's not going to be enough to slow those Huskarls down, but they are pinned in between two ogre
They can't
warlocks.
do anything except kill something.
They can't do anything except kill a warlock, which is
Now,
where-
if he wins both these fights, that plays brilliant, right? Because now
It
Brindley's
does.
stuck. You have 2 units turning to charge, and he only can send in Matilda and the Lord on Frostfang, and he has no choice.
Mhm.
So this is what the chariot in the flank of the butchers.
That
7
should be-
wounds.
Did that chariot not get hindered on its way in?
It did.
Okay, cool. Just
And there go the butchers.
Brutal.
Boom, son.
Brutal.
Brutal though.
it did 7 to them. They already had damage. Is that?
Yeah, they did.
They had
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 on them, yeah.
They didn't make it. This is the sort of the, I don't want to call it the big play, but this is the big roll, along
Yeah.
with all the other big rolls. But at this turn of the game, this roll really determines, I think, the state of the final
Mhm.
game.
Yeah, because if he doesn't pick these guys up, then he's going to get rear charged by that lord, who will easily pick up those chariots with 6 wounds already on them. And he calls out to Pizza Jesus again. Is that really what like?
Now they're definitely inspired now from that lord.
Mhm.
Yeah, I present to you my siege breakers. I bet he'll say on the altar of sacrifice. He did. He's cute though.
I like it.
Yeah, the Lord on Frostfang is very inspiring. So he does inspire the Mounted Sons just barely. You can see there.
Yeah.
9-inch line.
Yep.
There's the 20
That's
dice.
a lot of hits. There's
That's gonna be
12,
what, 12,
12 hits.
Hits. That's
Crush
pretty good.
1.
Someone drum
So-
roll.
And 4s, that's going to be 7 wounds.
7.
Okay.
And
There's
another
snakes.
7.
And even the 7, I probably wouldn't have done it.
No.
But he opened it with double 1, so it's
and
a
I opened it
mute
with
point.
snakes.
It's a mute point.
Not a true snakes, but it's still not dead.
Still alive and kicking.
So I guess the last question is, if Malantide's in range of the Warlord Chariot, that really sort of seals up all the units.
Malantide. I love it.
I feel
Malantide,
like
Matilda.
13,
I feel
yeah.
like-
She's within 14, so yeah.
Mhm.
Sure. Lord cleans them up. Huskarls eat a warlock. And that's 2 pieces left on the board for Matt.
Yep.
One chariot and 1 warlock.
I do think the Huskarls eat the red Warlock behind them, so they can reform looking back at the Warlord again, but have killed the model in their rear. Because it's
Yeah.
still 8 dice, right? You roll good. 8 dice can still do work.
Because we said the
Who's 8 dice?
The
9.
Warlord rear charging, or he's not 8. What is he?
No, he's 7?
It'd be 9.
9?
Or is
Maybe
it
not.
9?
They're 3 attacks, right? I have their
Oh,
character
he
sheet.
is.
Let's look.
He is
They're
9.
2 attacks.
He is 9.
They're
Mag-
Warlords have
Magnetic 7.
Are
2
warlock or
attacks. He's
warlock?
6 dice. Oh, that's what Matt did. Matt rolled them all together. That explains why
Yeah.
I was so confused.
Yeah.
Look at me being not an ogre player.
Yeah, those warlocks are like, you kill the one in front of you, you turn around to face, or you kill the one behind you, you spin around to face the one in front of you.
Mhm.
Like,
That's
Either.
although with it only being 6 attacks, I don't know if you care anymore. Like, don't even worry about it. Just kill one.
So
He's
Matt,
double-
That's an
What?
interesting choice
he's
That is an
trusting
interesting choice.
he's trusting his Sons of Corrigan on the counter.
Yep.
to do what Sons of Corrigan do.
Yeah.
And they're
So
elite, right?
I think that's the elite one.
Yeah, it is. So what's the
Elite and
odds?
brutal.
Because if he kills that chariot, they're not inspired. Do we think the Suns have a chance to crack a 17-19?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, with
Okay.
6 wounds, yeah.
There it is.
Unless he's changing his mind and sending Magdilda in there just for good measure. Yeah.
Confidence.
There it is.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah.
I thought he was going to send something into them to kind of help, but let's see what we got.
I guess the counter to when I said, send Matilda the Warlord is the Warlord, assuming it's all
Rolling
safe,
right
could just
So-
disengage and pivot.
So we're doing combat here. The Lord on Frostfang on the chariot,
Okay.
I think. No, it's 5 wounds and an 8.
Yeah.
And here come
I mean,
the
they-
mounted sons.
The Suns
14 hits.
sort of expected is 7 more damage. That
Yeah.
puts a
think-
what
I think they just did
7
6.
on
And she got 7 hits,
And another
Looks
4
like she did
wounds.
4
That's gonna put 'em
wounds
on
plus
16.
brutal.
yeah.
And an 11
Well-
and a 12. Well,
Well.
there you
No, Brindle, don't loll at that. That's mean. Don't do that.
I think it was Lol that he did all that thinking and then rolled an 11 and a 12.
Rolled an 11
Right.
and a 12.
Would not have mattered.
Yeah, Magnild helped.
That would have.
She helped.
Yeah.
At this point, the only thing he really has to watch is he has to make sure that when Matt disengages that chariot, it's not a flank on the mounted sons.
And I think it is in the current
Looks like
position.
If he
the
slides
chariot?
back an inch, they will be in the flank. Yeah.
Because
And
that's an
that's-
unhindered. I mean, there's no thunderous, but that's an unhindered flank. That's still
On a
Choppy,
unit with 7
choppy pain.
wounds. Yeah.
I think that may just be tired brain.
Oh no, he's still pivoting it. He hasn't let go yet. It just pivoted more.
So he's probably just checking angles.
He's checking in on the stream real quick.
He's like, before I reallocate my resources, I shall listen to Ashley's wisdom, and then ignore her.
That's why at one point I was like, guys, I can't talk about this too loud. What if he hears it? What if he hears? But no, his.
Was that when you were muted and we were ignoring you?
No.
Oh, here's the
No, that's
Huskar.
clearly- I was not giving him advice.
Warlock in front of them.
I was kidding.
I
Smash.
still have our unpublished battle report on my computer, Ashley.
Didn't we do that like a year and a half ago?
It's like 2 years old. Yeah.
It owed. It's probably one of those ones where you were trying to teach me how
Did
to
he-
not suck.
He killed the one in front.
He should have killed the one in front, but he rolled Snake Eyes. But that was the second roll, so I think that 9 should have picked them up. Otherwise, I'm not sure what that roll before the Snake Eyes was. It kind of doesn't matter because
Was he inspired?
They're
Well,
vicious.
There is no
those are
inspiring.
vicious rerolls. But no, he only rolled
Oh.
one to wound, and he rerolled that, and that's a 3.
Yeah, but so did he roll a 9? Was it inspired and then he re-rolled and rolled double ones?
Oh, that's what it is. Is one of these guys
There's no inspiring there.
There's no
Mm.
Matt
inspiring. anywhere.
didn't take his usual inspiring source.
Yeah, but what's in the front? They're both warlords?
They're both uninspired
They're both
warlocks.
just-
It could just be tired brains reverting back to usual list that model's inspired.
Mhm.
Could be.
Hmm.
It doesn't really change much in the overall state of the
hold
game.
on. No. Ogre Warlocks inspire Berserkers only, and they're both have keyword Berserker, so they do
Oh,
inspire themselves.
they inspire themselves.
No.
They inspire themselves. Interesting.
Okay, that makes sense.
Man, I guess I could have just read the sheet.
Read the documentation, and it looks like he is trying to figure out how to disengage that chariot. But that chariot horde pickup was really big for Brindley. That puts it into good solid win territory with 450 points.
So
If-
there's no line of sight from that chariot right to the Huskarls. Doesn't look like it. It looks like the
Nah.
frosting.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah,
the
no.
Thane's another
Lord.
big boy height 4. It's
Yeah.
really keeping them sound.
Mhm.
Yep.
because that would have
I
been
do
spicy-
I do think Matt should not charge in the rear with that warlock, just so the Huskarls don't have a way to get to him, and that unit's basically guaranteed safe now.
Yeah, because
Just
Magnild can
conserve
polish
that
off
point.
the one on the front easily on her own.
Yeah, so if he goes in, it's asking to lose both.
Yeah, if he goes in, he's asking to get tabled.
Just sold
Now,
it.
if he's able to get in on the mounted sons, does he have a chance to revert this back to a draw condition?
I don't think so. Oh wait, how much are the mounted sons? Let me look.
a lot.
They're not cheap, but I
They're not
don't
cheap.
know if it
They're
can buy it because I'm
250.
assuming that warlock is dead.
Yep.
They are 245. The mounted sons are 245. And the current delta is 450, so that would bring it to less than 230, so that would turn it back into a draw, assuming he doesn't lose anything else.
Yeah, which the Warlock is going down.
Right.
So
he's losing at least one
Is
Warlock.
he going down swinging?
we'll see about.
He's going to disengage.
He's doing the disengage and go for that bonus objective, which is something that you have to have units left alive to actually use.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I feel like everyone was like, "There's bonus objectives." That's how it felt this whole game.
It's turn 5, so we're allowed to talk about bonus objectives now.
Right.
They don't exist until turn 5 or 6.
Until right now.
I was going to say I'm not the only one that forgets that there's a scenario to play until it's turn 5 or 6.
Right. Yes, and once again to remind people, they are playing the Northern Kings variant on kill, which means there are 6 objectives on the table. That's those little barrels that are spread around. So they don't have anything to do with who wins or loses the scenario, but every one you are holding is 1 bonus point up to 5 for you at the end of the game. And then there's the usual kill ladder as well for how many points. And both these guys have racked up a lot of points.
Those bonus points apply solely to like your tournament standing itself.
That's right.
Which is still something, we're only in round 3, so that's a nice thing to do. See, Felix got my reference. I tried. He got it. Thank you, Felix. It's in the comments.
I just don't acknowge Fallout Boy references.
Well,
see how much better it is when you unmute yourself, Ashley?
Fuck off. Sorry that I sat on the fucking mic.
So we didn't. He's coming back. He's coming back.
He's coming back.
Oh, he's changing his mind.
Can't he like disengage, sidestep, be close enough, and still be facing them to drain life them?
It's possible. I'm just
looking like that.
That thing that you did right there.
Is McNild now charge range? I'm gonna go punch him.
Well, she's up on the hill, so she can definitely see, and that's
very possible because she's fast.
12. She's C7, so yeah, he would have to clear the objective by an inch to be out of her charge range.
So there's a question on like, can he get somewhere to keep McNild from using the next 2 turns, one to 2 turns, depending on roll, from just punching in the face over and over again?
Probably not.
If he throws it into the Mounted Suns, she's probably better off charging the Warlord, but. I don't know. I don't think fighting the Thane is the right call unless he wasn't able to get into the Mounted Suns at all.
Well,
with that chariot base, that seems kind of weird.
It's definitely a front charge because of how Brindley turned them. So maybe he just decided he'd rather stay. I don't know.
You got a way better. They're going to come in hot, so you have a chance. It's not a great chance, but you have a chance of putting a few wounds on them.
Oh, he's gonna. That's not drain life. What's he doing? Was that lightning bolt?
Oh, he's got a lightning bolt with cover?
What do they have? Ogre Warlocks have lightning bolt 3.
Lightning bolt 3.
Good God,
I'm
confused.
He missed it, yeah, because of the cover.
Why didn't the chariot go into the Suns?
Maybe he tried it and just couldn't make it fit. I don't know.
I can't.
I'm not sure.
Over to combat.
There's no way that doesn't fit.
But I know that my thought is you take the charge and then the Lord on Frostfang is facing out towards bonus objectives and that's it. But trying to kill a model is with that deep a nerve on only 2 wounds is rough.
So that's total 8 runes and a nerve roll of 5. That's a 13? Is that his waiver points?
15, 17 for the Lord.
Like you could have gone into the like that same nerve roll against 7 damage Sons of Korgan, same damage, same nerve, and you got
They're
them.
dead.
Yeah.
So, and now
I think that's definitely a cleanup play.
Is it top of 6?
Bottom of 6 now.
It's bottom of 5. Yeah, bottom of 6.
Yeah,
right?
it's top of 6. It was bottom of 5 for.
Yeah, so it's bottom of 5, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they're no, because if you look on the top right, they have their turn trackers. This is 6.
Oh, so it's the bottom though, because it's Brindley's turn.
Yeah, this is bottom 6. They corrected it in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have missed flipping one of the turn counters.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if they printed it out. I think they might have just jumped right into it.
I may have missed it while updating the tracker.
I think Matt had a chance with that Korrigan play to pop the Korrigan, survive, and hope for like a turn 7 cleanup charge. It wasn't a great chance, really, but
yeah, and I was definitely thinking because looking at the -28 thing, being that it was turn 5, but yeah, turn 6. Bottom. Okay.
That
Gives
unit
a
got
little less
nuked.
cleanup to do.
No surprise, unhindered, undisordered, mounted sons kill a wounded chariot in face, and then the commander helped.
Shock.
And then Magnild gets to do a punch on the
Magnild makes-
warlock. The Huskarls get to kill the other warlock, and there's no effective anything left for a turn 7
Yeah.
to eat.
And if it goes to 7, Brindley gets to choose: do I score 3 bonus objectives, or do I try and kill the last warlock?
Well, you kill
He snakes it again.
Oops.
No.
The warlock lives again.
Oh my
warlock.
God, Brindley.
Unkillable.
So Brindley's going to roll the damage and make sure he feels devastated. Looks like an extra 13 wounds on top of
13.
that big boy. That does give him 1 attack, or Drain Life 1, or Lightning Bolt 1 that he can't use the last 2 of. So, there's that. So that 1 attack could delete Brindley. We'll have to see. Spoiler, it won't.
Lightning Bolt 1 or Drain Life 1,
That he can't use because he's disordered.
Oh, yeah. Darn.
But it felt fun to say it out loud. She did some serious wounds on the warlock as well, but 10 won't see him stunned.
Nope.
Wavered, stunned, wavered.
Rolling for turn 7 and no turn 7, so that's going to be the end.
Well done, boys.
And that's going to be a big win for Brindley.
Mm-hmm.
Over 2,000 points killed.
Wow, yeah. Big one.
Matt didn't trail too far behind on the murder train.
It was
It didn't.
It was literally like one more combat swinging his way, and this was a paddling the other way.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
done.
good game, well played to both of them.
Well, at least I won't be living with a grump.
Brindley wouldn't be grumpy after such a great game, no matter what happened.
No, he wouldn't.
So I think the next step now is we're just bringing them in, right, Mike?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want me to holler at Bryn? Here, I'm going to yell.
Yeah.
I got him.
the total scores.
Yeah,
So
they're going to do some math. So what do we want to talk to them about when they come back? Usually we try to think of a few questions like big turning points of the game, things that we weren't
here's
sure about.
opportunity. Anyone who's still left in the chat and live, if you have something you want to ask these generals, get it up there
Back
quick
in.
and we can try.
All right, here I am. Cool. All right.
We see you.
So I'm just going to go ahead and get that out of the way.
Welcome back.
Hey,
Uh,
what's up?
So thanks, guys. That was a hell of a slugfest.
That was something.
Ogres versus Varanger will do that.
Will and you guys definitely did not disappoint. There was combat from turn 1 all the way through. So yeah, Brindley, talk us through that first one charge, that turn 1 charge with Magnild. Was that something that was just because of the slight gap between the warlock and the siege breakers, or was it because they were on the hill? Like how did you determine the line of sight?
That was the gap, because I had like a 1/4 inch to work with, and it was right down the middle. So I just had to run straight. I didn't even pivot or anything, and I just got right in.
Yeah, we didn't even argue that fact. It was definitely the gap. He had line of sight.
Matt wanted me to do it because
I did.
so
I didn't
big.
never expect I didn't ever expect a fucking 11 on that thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus
Like,
Christ.
I wasn't necessarily worried about the waiver. I just want to do some damage, and then if he drained life's 16, I figured I would still survive it.
So turn 1, let's break that down. Anything but an 11. A 10 or a 12 would have been fine. An 11 was the perfect goddamn number. All right. So if I had not gotten that, I would have backed up 3 inches with everybody, right? Oh, and thanks RC for not being able to stay exactly the same amount away. You have to be further away from them, so I couldn't back up again. Thank you,
Someone sounds a
RC.
little sour.
You took a rule that was complicated and you made it even more complicated. Thank you. All right, let's break. I've been drinking so much, guys. Thanks. All right.
I was not happy after turn 1.
I was mad at the
Then you saw
RC way more than Brindley, but Brindley was like, "Man, you're getting kind of mad." I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. What frustrated me was the fact that I couldn't stay the exact same amount of distance away that I was at the moment. I had to be at least a millimeter further away.
I've been there. I've been screwed over by that too.
It's stupid. It should say the same amount or more. Basically the idea is that you shouldn't be able to move closer to them.
Yeah.
But
So,
anyway, So at the end of
just went
that,
in there to buy time.
I could have moved back 3 inches, turned my ass with both of my warlocks, and said, "Charge me!" Like I dare you to charge me, right? Because 2 siege breakers. I mean, I don't care what you charge into me; they all would have been a bad trade. And then I would have drained life, boomer charged, healed the boomers, and then turned the next turn, or let them charge my rear. I mean, he doesn't want to charge my rear. And he would have been looking at that thinking like, oh, those are terrible charges, right? Who cares? Even the butcher regiment on kill would have been a bad trade for that. So
For the warlock? No, I would have taken that for sure.
you would have taken it because it would have been your best choice, but it would have been a 40-point lead to me. I mean, so that's just what I'm saying. But it's whatever. So I got pushed into a bad game from there, but then I got a glorious charge. This game was fun because it had a lot of really good, a lot of really weird turns.
Yeah.
Because
But
both of
even
us
off
at one
the-
point in the game, Brindley
Off
was
the
both.
start, with Matt getting turn 1 was already, I was like, okay, well, shit, what do I do here?
I should have
when
been
you
more
got that-
aggressive.
Yeah, so, well, you ran up, I mean, just out of all my charge ranges, which, whatever. But basically, it kind of forced me to think, like, okay, well, now I have to do stuff here. The only obvious movement I had to throw shit up the field was the scarecrows, because they're so slow. And then, like, turn 2, I felt really good, because I'd lined up so many charges. And then after those back-to-back double ones, and the one on the overrun, I was like, okay, well, I probably lose. Turn 3, I was able to turn a lot of it around. And then kind of from there, it was just like doing whatever I could to limit damage and try to take off big pieces, and just apparently hope that I not roll 4 double ones in one game, which was interesting to say the least.
So we have a. Go on.
Oh, like on average, I'd say like my dice, at least for hits and wounds, were generally quite high for the most part. At least with someone like Meg Nild was pretty consistently just, what the hell is she doing? My
Murdering,
nerve was all
getting
over
7
the
wounds
place.
per attack. It's all good.
So I don't know.
So we also have a question from Felix, who
Okay.
is asking, why didn't the chariot charge the mounted sons in the end there when they?
So because
Final turn.
he had to try to
Sorry?
hit
Yeah.
me, and then he would have to teleport through to line up. But
Yeah, he wouldn't
it
have
was
fit.
less than a 4-inch gap. He couldn't teleport through that.
He wouldn't have fit.
Yeah.
There was I think it was the Thane or one of your
The
one of
Lord on
your.
Frothfang was blocking him.
Yeah. He needed like about a 1/4 inch more to fit.
So that was why. I
So
pivoted
he would have
twice.
he would have had to have hit the point of contact, which would have been the corner, and then he would have had to have aligned. And when he aligned, he would have been on top of the Thane, and that made the charge illegal.
And he
Okay.
couldn't go
So-
the other way because he wouldn't have been able to get the angle.
I just thought that, like, wouldn't you be able to pivot, like, once you're lined up to hit, you have a second pivot, and you would just go diagonally further to the far side of the mounted sons.
Oh yeah. No one ever claimed I was a smart man. So Felix
So we
had
had not to rake you over the coals, but we had a very complicated charge question in the chat that we
Yeah.
want to get if anyone saw it. So it was your Brindley had moved his Sons of Corrigan by the house on the far right, his left of the
Butchers?
table.
Oh, he
Yeah.
didn't have room there. There wasn't enough room.
Yeah.
On-
So
on the-
So here's
I left less than a 4-inch gap so that he could very well contact my flank, but he could not line up. He'd be touching the building.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can we?
So
We're going to ask the complicated question.
Okay.
We have
Um,
proof
because
that
this was a
that's
long
not true.
part of it.
So what we wanted to see is if it had moved out, pivoted so it was facing up the board through that gap, and then contacted the very top back corner of your sons, and then aligned so that it was actually mostly behind the house.
Do
We
we,
think
have
that
a
was
screenshot?
Ooh.
Mike,
We
I
we
don't-
took a screenshot and
No, I
looked.
could even open it up. Well, I guess you guys aren't looking at the game anymore, right?
Oh, hold on.
No,
I
but
can,
this is-
I am.
I can bring it back.
Well, even
I can bring
so,
it back.
I think a
I was-
screenshot would be
I was
way better
something
than what
like-
we replicated at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say this. If
So
we had the screenshot, it'd be better. But
Yeah, the
But-
screenshot definitely.
Something like. 'cause
I
know-
could have. You're
back
right.
farther.
Yeah.
Yep. At
It would've
the
been
at the
back farther.
screenshot,
That's not a screenshot,
It's-
mind you. That's just
Hold on.
me moving it.
Yeah. Well, I think we have a screenshot saved by Brenton, correct?
Yeah, I can, but anyways, the
But
point is,
what he's saying, since I have access here, and I think you're right. Now, I never claimed to be a smart man, guys. This is why I don't
Right.
win Masters, right? This is why I place bottom half in Masters. So I come up, right, like
Uh-huh.
this, and then I
Yep.
hit here,
Yep. And then you touch the back corner.
and then I do this, and then I don't teleport, I align,
Yeah.
and I'm good.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
you didn't have
You
space,
you'd have to just touch that back corner, I guess, in that case, right?
And I think I'd have the perfect angle. This is why it's hard
at
to
the same
figure out
time,
everything. Yeah.
Like, if
Yeah,
I knew
no,
it was
and-
possible, I would have just pivoted like this.
Sure.
and the
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same idea.
idea
Like, the
wasn't-
reason I wasn't finagling it is because I was under the assumption that he can't charge.
and
yeah.
the
So,
Had
but,
we
I
known
mean,
that
like,
rule was possible, I would have simply pivoted 2 degrees.
I think
Yeah, no, and
it
it's-
was
Brindley
possible,
asks
though.
questions until he's totally safe.
Yeah, and it's-
in all
I
questions.
just,
so.
yeah, I discuss everything with Matt. He loves it.
Yeah, and it's
I
and
do.
it's absolutely
It's my
the
favorite
sporting-
thing.
The sporting thing to do there for you to say, look, I'm putting these knights in a place where he cannot fit in my flank. Do you look at the table and agree that he cannot fit in my flank? And you both say yes, and you keep playing. You could have sat there and like gotten out proxy bases and slid them around a while till you had it exactly perfect by the rules.
Yeah.
But you
And-
guys just
and
did the expedient thing and said,
the goal,
you have
the
enough
goal
movement to do it.
wasn't to-
You got there. Right.
the goal wasn't to catch anyone out. It was more of a we have some questions during the cast on like, was that an option they saw and opted out of, or was it an option they missed? And it's
I think
totally
the
okay
option
for
is.
it to be-
I think the areas we agreed that wasn't available. Yeah.
And that's
like
fine.
I pretty much like asked Matt about everything.
There
as
were
I
a
was
couple
doing
points
it.
in the stream too where I said, look, we could get the exact degree on Yubi on this,
And
or
you never
I'm gonna
cared.
I'm gonna take an extra pivot because this is the most extreme angle I can do, which more than allows for what I'm trying to do right here. So I'm just gonna place it where I need it to be. You know?
Yeah,
That worked
actually-
out
We
really
were-
well when we tested all of those. Like we never had a problem with anything.
Yeah.
And we were super I at least was impressed. There were a couple charges I said from Brindley or 2 sort of out of nowhere charges. Magnilda was a really sort of game changing one and ended up being, and the Lord on Frostfang sort of popping into the middle of the battle line and killing the goblins was another really strong.
Man, if
That-
that,
I
if
saw-
that worked and I hadn't double won it, I was gonna be pretty happy because
That's-
it was out of the charge arc of. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so like when I saw that, I figured I should take it because I can start taking away units, and once I take away units and I can dictate charges, it works out really well in my favor. And
If
then I was
this-
just kind of
yeah.
like, I think both me and Matt were trying to roll with blows as they happened because we were having stuff die that we didn't expect to die or kill things we didn't expect to.
Ah.
That was like every turn. Every
Yeah.
turn something died that wasn't supposed to. There was a point in the game where I was like, well, that's it. I'm going to keep playing because I need to, but I've lost the game. And both of us said that to each other in the game.
Yeah,
But
definitely,
felt that way
definitely
in the
swung
stream,
back
though.
and forth.
We were like, this is going Matt's way. This is going Brindley's way. Like it swung like every turn that happened. The whole
I
way
called
through the
it.
game.
I called the game over when the McNeildy waiver happened.
And
Like
I called it the turn after when I double won everything.
Yeah, that was it. I thought Brindley had made a mistake and not realized the chariots had range to his Huskarls. Brindley was expecting to be able to overrun deep enough. He needed a 3, I
It's
think,
2
to get
plus.
away from it.
Just 2
Was it
would've been
just a
fine.
2? Just a
Yeah,
2?
anything
Okay.
but a 1. Same way with
Anything but a
your
1.
siege breakers. It's anything but a 1.
Yeah. The Siege Breakers was pretty frustrating,
So
but
the karma was hilarious in that.
this is something that I really want in the future is for us to allow 1 reroll. I think 1 reroll for any roll, period, is really fun. We do it that way in Texas.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we allow 1 reroll. So you could use it for a snake eyes, you could use it for an overrun, you could use it aggressively. Like that's what's really cool. Like let's say you roll a 6-1 on a waiver, right? On a nerve roll. Reroll that fucking 1. Go for it, right?
So
So you could use it in all sorts of different ways. And there were 4 or 5 instances that both of us would have wanted to use the 1 reroll.
yeah.
But I think that
Yeah.
gets
So
a
you
little bit of dice. I think it gets a little bit of dice waverance out, and it's really fun. Like, when do you use your reroll? You could use it as soon as the roll for turn 1, or you could at top of 1, or you could use it as late as if you're on the bottom of 6, you could use it for turn 7 and go for a 7. Because I'm sure we've all had games where if it was 7, this person would win. If it was 6, this person would win. I've seen people win and lose games based off of a reroll on does the game continue. So it's something that I really like in Texas games.
So I'm sharing my screen. I don't know if anyone can see that.
I can add it. Here you
go. And there you see the sort of board state that we think that would have made a legal charge. But you guys agreed out of it, so it totally makes sense.
I'm trying to zoom into this to where I could see it.
It's nice to know how it would work, but the most important thing on that board state is, do you agree? Yep. All right, move on. It's happened at Masters. It happens casually. This is the intent. You think it's right? Yeah, I think it's right. Cool. You move on with life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that if, like, it creates a sort of interesting, like, social thing, which is if he sees that and you're like, hey, am I covered from your charge? He can say, no, I think I got you here. And then you have to find some way to keep maneuvering until you're out of it.
Yeah.
It's possible.
As
But
long as you don't say, yeah,
good.
you're good, and then charge, then
Oh, no, that's a.
then you're a dick.
So that's
go. I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll see. Like,
That's what I did to Brindley last game, but it was because we had the last game we played. I felt so bad about this.
Oh, that was
so
because our audio was garbage.
yeah,
I
I
asked
couldn't.
Matt,
I
said,
could hear
"Okay, I'm
every
charging
third word from Brindley.
Yeah. I charged this chariot lord and said, okay, so I'm going to charge you here with the assumption that if my knights are back here, they can't be hit. And I don't think Matt heard the full thing, so he just said, yeah, whatever, it's fine. But then on his turn, he hadn't heard what I said, so then he backs up and just gets the right pivot angle to flank my knights. And I was like, wait, hold on, I just said that I was avoiding this. And then,
I felt so bad about this.
That
But
was
I mean,
whatever,
like,
we rolled with it.
I
It was-
pulled it off and I was like, look, I can do this. What do we do about this? And Brindley's like, I guess you have it. And I said, I was like, that's why I moved him here. The whole reason was so he could do this.
Yeah.
It's like, but you told me. I was like, but I can only hear every third word you're saying right now. It was just this. It was just this no-win situation where
I like playing Matt a lot at Masters.
Yeah, it was a fun
technically
game.
to go now because then we can actually hang out and discuss everything as we go.
Yeah, that was a fun game at Masters. Despite the sun that was killing us from the open
God.
door. Oh.
So taking away from social etiquette and board manners, Northern King's redesign of kill. Did you feel obviously your lists are not built to play I'm going to hold a barrel, but do you as players, start with Matt then go to Brindley, like that redesign, or do you still think kill's a bad mission? Do you still like kill as a mission?
There's no difference between this and anything else Northern Kings has ever done, and let me explain. Northern Kings is a win more system. Starting off, you have a 10-point split between winner and loser. 15 and 5, which is, or 10 and 0 if you want to get rid of the gimme points. The major problem with Northern Kings, and I hate this system, hate it. It's the worst system I've ever played for a tournament, period. Hands down, don't even have to think about it. The worst thing about it is that it's win more. So we're playing kill, right? So we get a 15-5, 10-point lead difference on kill points. Then we add attrition on top of it, which is this fucking same. Right, Brindley's going to win. We haven't worked out the exact numbers here, but Brindley's going to get more points on top of already having won the game for having attrition points. And then we have tokens, which we haven't even figured out because neither one of us paid any attention to the tokens at the beginning.
It's going to be 1 to 2 because all my knights are right here. So.
Yeah, like neither one of us were paying any attention to the tokens the whole time. But that's because we were both trying to murder each other until the end of 6. But
Hell
that's our fault. I mean, like the pillage token should have been a thing. But the thing is, it's win more. So you have a system that's designed to split 10 points, and then you get more points for bonus objectives that are the exact same thing as the objective you were trying to win with to begin with. And then you have attrition points. And in this case, it's reversed. You have attrition points and you have this extra thing, but which normally would be attrition, but in kill is the pillage tokens. But it's a really, really, really stupid system because 20 of the 25, or it should be 15 of the 20 points. Because remember, we start at 5 and there's no way to lose points. So we have to delete those points because everyone gets 5 points. So of the 20 points available to score, 15 of them are ranked in the main objective. 5 of them are ranked in attrition. I mean, if they think that's a great system, it is, but I think it's horrendous. Blackjack beats it hands down, and I think the Texas Swiss system. I think the Texas Swiss system beats it even better than blackjack. Blackjack, I can understand why everyone else loves it. If you play in Texas and see the Swiss system, you'll like it even better than blackjack. We just do it better than blackjack. It's just not as simple as blackjack. Now, if simple is your goal, go blackjack. If you would just trust your TO that it's a better system, come to Texas. But Northern Kings, worst system I've ever seen.
So
I'm excited for Universal Battle Swiss to come up here. I'm excited.
I
So,
would say I very much enjoy your rant. I don't agree with all of it, and I think
I mean,
right now
tell us how
any
you really
scoring,
feel.
I think it's pretty hard to judge any scoring system from its kill scenario because kill is a problem scenario already.
I'm not judging it based off of kill. Kill is the exact same as any other system they've ever given. There's 15 points tied to the main scenario and 5 points tied to a separate scenario. In most cases, that 5-point scenario is tied to kill. In this case, that 5-point scenario is tied to pillage. We're still playing 2 scenarios at all times.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, there's some great platforms
No, he
to
doesn't like
type
No,
that out.
That's
though.
not a problem. The problem is it's win more. So there's 10 points assigned to the main objective, and the bonus objective is the same objective. So in this case, it's kill, right? There's an attrition point that's 5 points in addition to the 10-point split. In any other objective, it would be, let's say we were playing pillage on this. We would get 10 points for winning pillage, and then we would get 5 additional points for winning pillage because it's based off of the objectives that we're holding.
So basically, to summarize that, I think what Matt's saying is he doesn't like the 15-5. He likes having, like, say, a 13-7.
This would have been a 13-7 in a Texas game.
So something.
Okay.
Well, my goal wasn't to derail the whole chat. It was just to hit another facet of the game. So is there any other parts of the game that we didn't cover or didn't ask you about that we should have?
What else is better in Texas, Matt?
I still think they did
everything, Brindley. Everything is better in Texas. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I like the idea of if you're gonna have kill, at least have objectives involved. I appreciated that. I still don't like kill in general because, so say if Magnild hadn't gotten all up in his face and he'd been able to just kite me for a while, it's just stupid because there's no penalty in this scenario to just holding back and shooting people.
Yeah.
You never have to leave your deployment zone. Whereas at least if there was a scenario, say if all these barrels were actual objectives like pillage, then I can force him back, right? So I can stay out of the boomer range, force him to come to me. At least I'm taking lightning, but whatever.
That is true. If I wanted to be a dick, coming in, knowing I was playing kill, knowing I could change my list, I would have played all goblins, all boomers. Goblins, boomers, boomer sarges, called it a day. And if someone wanted to call me a dick, they could, but it's definitely the best list for that situation.
Yeah, but I haven't played Matt yet where he's ever taken a list that I would consider cheesy garbage.
I was gonna until I was streaming, and then I couldn't live with myself.
I wanted to try it in case there was shooting, because at least stealth might help me out. But
yeah.
So
I liked your ally choice.
Yeah, we kind of liked that.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew
it's the only thing I'll ever say I liked about you, Brindley.
Aw.
Do you like his
All right,
comment?
so thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah,
thanks a lot, guys, for letting us look over your shoulder while you play. That was definitely a very fast-paced and exciting and interesting match, and killy match. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, it was.
That was a good time. So I'd like to thank Matt Young and Brindley for letting us watch them play. Congrats to Brindley on winning the game, and good luck to both of you in the next rounds of the tournament, where we get to play anything other than kill. I'd also like to thank Kyle Donald, Lord Poole, and Ashley Mowat and Britton Williams for hanging out and talking about the game with me. And thank everybody at home for watching. This has been Dash 28 Live. Join us on Friday for the Battle of the Atoms, Adam Ballard versus Adam Padley. And we will see you then. Until then, stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.